Live. Oh, we're live. Okay, we're live. Hey, everybody, and welcome. This is the Apostate Prophet. How is everybody doing? We are right now streaming simultaneously on my channel, Apostate Prophet, and also on Harris Sultan's channel. So wherever you are, you should be getting this same stream. And I'm acting like I'm the boss because there's, I have the mainstream. Yeah, it is my StreamYard. So Harris is practically a guest. So we wanted.
I do have access. I do have access. If you want to see, look, I just did this. Hey, see, I'm moving
it. So we are here because some very nice things happened. We got surprised by, disappointed actually. Many people have been telling me that I have been doing this whole YouTube thing for like 2-3 years or so, and some guy called Haqiqatjou came along and did more harm, more damage to Islam than I ever did. It's like, dude, I'm trying so hard. I'm putting so much effort into this stuff. And then he comes here, says a few words, and everybody hates Islam much more now. And it's like, I'm jealous,
Daniel, that's why I've labeled him Daniel Own Goal Haqiqatjou. It's like people are expecting me to reinvent the wheel. It's like when someone is scoring his own goals, have you ever seen like the footballer goes to his side and start celebrating? No, it's like you just let them score their own goal. That's just the way it is. It's anyway. I reckon there's loads to talk about where he went wrong, and he actually and I want to just straight off the bat I want to say that stop saying that Haqiqatjou is actually brutally honest. He's not, and I'll show you how he actually lies. Just like we know Muhammad Hijab lies. We know that he makes up translations as he goes along. But Haqiqatjou, with his studies, and this is why I never paid any attention. Maybe I think I should have paid more attention to the studies to actually verify them on the spot. I knew that, like he might have interpreted it in his own ways, but they're actually false studies. So we haven't even seen those studies. So, which obviously this is the reason why one should never lie, because if you don't know the answer, you can stay quiet. You don't know the answer, but when you lie, you get caught out. Like Muhammad Hijab got caught out after lying, and this is how he got caught out about lying as well. So we'll go through most of his claims, but I just want to say, guys, to AP's. I mean, obviously it's being shown on my channel and AP's channel as well. I think I've only got 60 people watching on my channel. You've got most of the audience, so please, if you can, do subscribe my channel as well. I have the video editor who is going to be collecting all these clips and putting it up. We've just put up one clip where he was defending wife beating. It's like a 10-minute clip, so my response is in there as well, and the crickets from the other side. So they come down and they try to tell you as though he gave the answer. I've given the answer, as though right or wrong doesn't matter. It's just because he's given the answer, that's it. So he was. Some of the points were so absurd that they don't even need to be refuted. But a lot of his arguments were actually refuted as well. So, but because the format of the debate is like he's going on for like 5 minutes, and then I have to talk 5 minutes in return, and there's like 4 topics to cover. So my point, you might not hear about that answer 7 or 8 minutes later. So people forget about that the response has been given. So that's why I'll be putting up those clips from that where I've responded to them as well, and all the riffraff and all the other things will be gone. So please do subscribe to my channel.
Yeah, go subscribe to Harris Sultan's channel. He has been doing some great stuff recently, and this whole debate that happened was also something very good on his part. I want to say a few words about that whole thing. Now, earlier today, Haqiqatjou apparently went live on a live stream that he greatly announced and tried to spread for days now since the debate. And at the beginning of it, I just listened to a few minutes of it. I heard him say these very ridiculous things like people are saying Harris Sultan was not prepared, but I don't think so. I think Harris Sultan was actually completely prepared. As it seems, all the murtads, the ex-Muslims, Harris Sultan, and especially Apostate Prophet and all the others, they prepared for a long time for this. They sat together and prepared for weeks their arguments, and they wrote wrote a script, and then Harris Sultan just came and it didn't make any sense. That's what he said, and he's trying to manipulate the opinion of the audience and trying to make it look like he's this big, great guy, and we are afraid of him, and we totally lost and all that. I mean, we just had a stream just a few days before the debate in which Harris here openly said, "I didn't even prepare anything. I just I just want to go there and let him speak and expose himself. I'm not here to actually refute him and to debate with him." And that's actually what happened. The debate was mainly just Harris poking certain points, making fun, and Daniel basically digging his own grave. I mean, I just published 4 videos so far, little excerpts that all make everybody like Islam much less than before. I mean, I want to ask you one simple question. The debate between Daniel Haqiqatjou and Harris Sultan happened. Supposedly, Daniel Haqiqatjou is supposed to make people like Islam more. But what do you guys think is the outcome of this debate? Do you think as a result of this debate, as a result of everything that came out of that, as a result of everything that we are seeing from that debate, do people like Islam more, or do people like Islam even less because of Daniel Haqiqatjou? I really want to genuinely ask this question to not only the non-Muslims and ex-Muslims and all the others. I want to ask this question especially to Muslims,
moderate Muslims.
Yeah,
moderate Muslim, not Haqiqatjou fanboys. They think, yeah, that's fine. Wife beating, sex slavery, everything perfect. and this is what I said in my opening statement or one of the monologues as well. And I said the same thing. I said, let's just see how many people after this say, wow, Haqiqatjou, you've given us these mind-boggling arguments. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, I have now converted to Islam. Let's just see. I'm actually getting, let me show you let me show you my screen where I'm getting all the messages from atheists, Christians, Shias, like Hindus, who are all saying that, Harris, you've let us down and we've turned into Muslims. My inbox is literally empty. there's nothing.
You had to be on the live stream. I was live there. I made tons of super chats just to ask Daniel a lot of questions. You had to be there, and you had to check the live chat as the debate was happening. Whenever he started giving a ridiculous answer to something like, I don't know, child marriage, especially the whole part about child marriage, when he started justifying child marriage, he could have just answered the question with a yes or a no. He thinks he has to explain it more deeply to, not appear like a bozo, but with his long, deep explanation justifying child marriage, it gets even worse. The responses in the live chat, on that stream from non-Muslims, especially, were like, "What the hell? What the fuck? What's going on? This is disgusting. Ooh, why is this guy being hosted on here?" And this is the general sentiment that people have right now. And they think, those radical Islamists, those Islamists and his fans think, "Oh, we're just being emotional. Ooh is not an argument." Well, you idiots, why do you think people react this way to somebody sitting there and justifying the marriage between hypothetically a 55-year-old and a 6-year-old or a 9-year-old? Why do you guys think people react with disgust to that? Because we're talking about little children being used for reproduction, for sexual purposes, turned into baby making machines. We're seeing somebody sit there, some weird looking guy sit there and justify that with horrible arguments that go against everything that we have learned about child development, about psychology, about science over the last centuries. We have adopted a disgust for child marriage and for child rape for a reason, because it is so horrible, because it is so harmful, because we were all children, because we make children, and if we abuse those children will become adults who will be harmed, and so on. This is not an emotional response. This is simply a response coming from a point of common sense to some barbaric guy who tells us that it's completely fine to have sexual intercourse with a little girl as soon as she has her period, where she's not even developed enough remotely to bear children or to have sex even. But yeah.
But did you? So let's just try to steelman his position. So like I don't care about them, because like his fanboys or cheerleaders, because they're just gonna. I said that they're gonna claim that we won anyway. He was literally turning red when I was. Some of the jokes were actually harmless, and I actually held back You know, like I was like, okay, let's just have a bit of fun with it. You know, there was a point when I said something like, let's talk about the elephant in the room, and then in my mind it just came out, hey, Daniel, I'm not talking about you. Just, but I held back. I was like, okay, maybe he's turning red. He might have like I don't want him to have a blood pressure shoot through the roof. So let's steelman his position. So his whole argument. So instead of Sharia talking about all the other issues that we just pushed him, which he avoided a lot, and then when you pushed him even more at the end, he got so angry that he actually yelled at the moderator. And so he turned the whole Sharia element for him. So this was the central argument. Sharia protects family system, and family system increases fertility rate. So in this context, obviously chopping off hands of thieves, that's got nothing to do with family system. So he's talking about women being subjugated, as I brought up a live call from his own Muslim follower who asked him, what about this? Why we Muslims don't treat women like you do? Why? And then he turned around and he said, don't you want your wife to be obedient? So that's the context, because Sharia enables women to be subjugated, and as a result your fertility rate goes up. So that was his argument. Yeah, so I'm not misrepresenting him or anything. Yeah, and I said to that, I said there's clearly other factors involved, such as economic prosperity, which he didn't respond to it. Not a single word he said to it. So again, he was like, I've given you studies. And obviously I can't verify any of those studies. So let's have a look what the actual studies are, what fertility rate has to do with it. Look at this relationship between fertility and income. So as your income, can you guys see it? As your GDP income goes up, your fertility rate goes down, and look how far down it is. His other argument was with the extension of not only the fact that he's saying that your Sharia boosts fertility rate, but he's saying human rights, on the other hand, are extremists. So there's some lots of golden moments in there. So he said human rights actually make fertility rate go down. So let's have a look at some of those as well. So which countries have
I just have to say something. He said that if you wait for too long and if you don't practice child marriage, then people will go extinct because they will not be able to make enough babies. I mean, are you dumb, man?
We'll come to that. This debate was actually fertility rate boosting, and his whole argument was, again, you can go through the whole debate and listen to the painful points that he was making, but there's no misrepresentation. He's saying human rights make fertility rate go down, Sharia make it go up. So let's have I just showed you that it has strong correlation. There's a study that I just tweeted about that. So guys, please follow me on Twitter as well. So GDP rate goes up, fertility rate goes down. This is I just shared that with you. The link is on my Twitter. But let's have a look about the countries that do have Sharia. Let's have a look at those ones. Look at this. This is Qatar, 1.87. Qatar has got like 70 or 80% Sharia law. It has Sharia practices. Let's have a look at other one. Let's have a look at.
He will condemn Qatar as not real Islamic.
No, that's fine. I'll come to that. So basically, they're saying it's not real Islamic because they've got kingship there. So if we somehow have all the elements of Sharia that Qatar does have it, and replace the king with the Khalifa, fertility rate is going to go up. In other words, that's their argument. Obviously, that's bullshit. So have a look at Saudi Arabia. Again, Saudi Arabia, they would say it's not a good example, but have a look. As GDP goes up, this goes down and down and down. And look, it's the same trend with everywhere. Qatar's going down from 6.97 down to 1.87. UAE from 6.93 down to 1.41. Yes, UAE is modernizing as well, but still, Saudi Arabia has Sharia laws. It's a very misogynist country. All of those things. MBS is trying to change that. What happened there? Now let's have a look at another country. Now let's have a look at a country like Pakistan. It's been steady for a very long time, and now it started falling down, and it's still very high, 3.51. But you can't take credit for it because guess what? Pakistan doesn't even have Sharia law. Pakistan probably only has 10 or 15% of Sharia law, not even and that's very basic, rudimentary Sharia law. There's no amputations, there's no flogging, there's no stoning. Yes, you can go to prison for like 3 months or something for adultery or something like that. So Pakistan doesn't even have Sharia law, but Pakistan is a poor country, unlike Qatar or Saudi Arabia or UAE. So his whole argument that it's got to do with family system, which is enabled by Sharia, that increases fertility rate. That's just false. I just showed you the studies, and this is the actual study that says it goes up because of the link between fertility and income.
This is a fact. I want to unashamedly say that I learned this in Sociology 101 in my college class. That it is a known fact in anthropology, in sociology, in current human development and research that if you when the social status of a people goes up, when the financial status, the well-being goes up, the fertility rates go down, because the fertility rates are high under less developed people for certain specific reasons, including sickness, including the uncertainty. When you have wealth, your life becomes more organized, and societies have a more organized, planned way of creating a family. And no matter what religion, no matter what culture you are in, there is a difference in how the fertility rates decrease, but the fertility rates will eventually decrease. They will eventually go down. The highest fertility rates among cultures, when they become more advanced, more wealthy, more comfortable, will start going down. This is a very well-known fact. Daniel Haqiqatjou likes to cite studies, he likes to cite classes, he likes to cite books. This is something that you can find in every basic sociology book, in every basic sociology 101 book. This is something that you can find in, he gives some sources of books that like two people read. I mean, read The Better Angels of Our Nature. It's a huge book. I read it by Steven Pinker. Of course, you might dismiss Steven Pinker as somebody who you cannot trust. But he explains the development over time very well and demonstrates very clearly how humans have, as much as they go toward more wealth, more comfort, and more peace, the fertility rates also thereby decrease immensely, dramatically. And this is a norm. This is universal in the world.
Yeah, and so the whole argument on fertility, I don't know if you have to say more on that, because obviously more tribal or a backward a society is, and if you go, they've got less medical facilities available. Back in the day, people also used to make a lot of babies. Only 1 or 2 out of 5 will survive to adulthood. I don't know, Stalin had like 4 brothers or something. They all died, only he survived, and Hitler had similar kind of story as well. So this people used to die, they didn't used to go, and that was like an insurance policy. So now, even as I said, and I pointed that out, even Muslims are not making enough babies as the income goes up, as women get more educated, etc. So it's a known problem. But again, and when I asked him, did you notice how he dodged the question? When I said, okay, so if we just let it go unchecked, if we keep the fertility rate go up like the way you're going, what is the ideal size of the human population? Is it 9 billion, 10 billion? He didn't answer. He said, all I'm saying is that it supports family system. Oh, hang on. So if family system is going to destroy the planet, what good is that? Where's your fertility argument then? And when I asked him, I said, okay, so if we hit 10 billion, because this is the ultimate extreme, a lot of forecasters are saying that by the end of the century, we might hit 10 billion, but everywhere, all around the planet, it's going to plateau and it's going to start decreasing after that. So he goes, we'll sit with imams at that point, and then we'll work out a solution. Okay, so we should leave the fate of the planet in the hands of people who dress like you, So he didn't give any answer to that, and yet here they are. They think that these are mind-boggling answers.
Harris, you know what really amazes me? The entire time when he tries to argue for Islam, he did the same thing in the debate with you. He did the same thing in our discussion with me. He tries to argue from with a focus on pragmatism, like what is better for humans, what is better for the future, and this and that. And of course, ironically, he only brings points that are not very pragmatic, that are not very good for our well-being. But wait a minute. I tried to ask this in our discussion as well. Why in the world does he try to focus on pragmatism the entire time? What is it to him? What is it to Islam? What is pragmatic for this indefinite future of humans? What does it matter if humans might go extinct under certain ridiculous circumstances that he imagines? What is all that to him? He's supposed to argue for Islam, the Islamic life, the Islamic world, the Islamic truth, where we live on a planet only temporarily, just to obey Allah, to do nothing else, just to make a living, to pray and to obey Allah, so that we can then go to heaven and live our eternal lives there. According to the Quran itself, the life here on earth is nothing but play. That's what it is. But Daniel Haqiqatjou tries to appeal to the emotions of people in a very terrible way. He doesn't, succeed with that at all by constantly arguing things like, well, if we don't do child marriage, then we might go extinct. If we don't control women, then we will not have a strong patriarchal society. If we do this and this, then fertility rates will sink. Well, okay, so what is it to you? He said to me before as well, if we go on with this, if we proceed with this technocratic, futuristic attitude, then in the future people will be nothing but machines and computers. Well, okay, but what does that matter to you? Why are you trying to argue for pragmatism? Your religion is not pragmatic.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Your religion is focused on the afterlife. This life is nothing. Why are you arguing for worldly pragmatism? It doesn't make any sense. It's
Well, it's funny that there's a super chat question, I think, for you, a comment to you. So I think we should address that before we go further. So they're saying Daniel Haqiqatjou is either super smart and good acting atheist disguised as a Muslim to expose how awful Islam truly is, or he's just the dumbest Muslim there is who totally missed the point of doing taqiyya. I don't know about taqiyya part though, but I think he definitely is stupid in that in its literal meaning, because this was the trap for him and he walked straight through it. So I just tweeted, and I think this is why, guys, it's important. Please follow us on Twitter because we need you guys. Have a look at this one. I just said there are two Islamophobes in this picture destroying Islam. Guess who? So he's literally he did a job, and this is exactly what I meant by let him speak. They're like, I've responded to pretty much everything that he said, but obviously, as I said, there's quite a few things that just slip under the radar. You can't talk about them. We're making these videos, and it's fun. Okay, so now let's get on to the next one. Now, you said he talked about, he was defending patriarchal society, and he was saying technocratic society. So there are a lot of golden quotes from this. These words do not come out from someone smart. So have a listen to this one, what he says here. So this is an excerpt that I just uploaded about an hour ago. So these kind of excerpts will be coming out quite frequently, guys. Just watch what he says here.
I'm going to actually...
Sorry, could you hear it?
I could hear it. I think everybody else can then hear it too, if I can hear it.
Yeah, if you can hear it, then I think everyone can. So I'm just turning up the volume just in case.
He's throwing everything out there. I'm going to actually respond with arguments. I'll just respond to this wife-beating argument. Islam says power should be distributed across kinship groups. And this means that the patriarch has authority to physically discipline members of his family, including his wives, if they violate important norms and values.
So that's the point when if you're allowed to interject and you say at that point. So he's literally saying, wives, if they don't obey certain commands, like the one that you raised at the point, providing sex or doing your chores, whatever her defined gender-based, this is the ultimate gender-based roles. And he's saying, if they don't do it, then you can physically discipline them. That's what he said so openly. Have a look at this, how he tries to justify it. I mean, we all know that. We've all read 434 and we've also seen a bunch of hadiths that we've seen. We all know that. But let's see the level of his intellect, how he defends it or justifies it. What's this?
Now let's ask women. If you violate the law, shouldn't you face consequences? And if you have to face consequences, who would you rather mete out those consequences? The cold iron fist of the bureaucratic, technocratic state, or the person who loves you the most
a person who loves you the most? That's where I said And I think I said it afterwards. That's where, honey, I love you, and boom. This is literally what it's saying. So the police is going to beat her up, which, as I said, I responded further on, so you can go and watch the whole video. I did respond to his point, and I did make fun of his ridiculous ideas. And so nobody's saying human rights don't allow that. If you, Ridwan, you or any woman or any man who commits crime, even if you commit murder, police locks you up. They're not allowed to beat you up in a civilized society, right? Yeah. They interrogate you. They give you evidence. You even have a freaking right to say no comment. And here he is. He's saying the state will beat her up or her husband will beat her up. If I was a woman, I would rather be beaten up by my husband. I mean,
there are so many layers to this. There are so many layers to this. I want to just point out one ridiculous thing. Daniel Haqiqatjou is arguing for an Islamic state where a just Islamic ruler, a just Islamic government is in charge of providing justice to its population. And what is he saying? Would you rather want the the iron fist of the state to beat your wife, or would you rather want the most loving person who is the husband to beat her? Do you understand what you're talking about? You are arguing for an Islamic state where there is Islamic justice and a just Islamic ruler appointed by the people, but you are saying, would you rather want this this ultimate system of justice, this ultimate just guy at the top to deal with your wife and to discipline her and to make her abide by the laws, or would you rather leave it to a husband who is loving but who might be, who is vigilant and who might have any sorts of motives to instead exercise this thing? So do you not trust the justice of the law? Would you rather want to leave it to the husband, who is a mere civilian, an individual who is not even equal to the wife, who is actually superior to the wife under the Islamic State? I mean, how does it make sense? Are you dumb? I mean, honestly, I'm sorry, I don't know how else to put this, but that makes no sense. You would, in your just Islamic system, leave it to the justice system, which according to you is so just and so beautiful, to exercise the justice and the punishments within this society, within this country. You wouldn't leave it to the vigilant husband who can abuse his authority and begin abusing his wife because he is a woman, because he is a man, because he is a mere human who might abuse his rights, which is why people like Daniel Haqiqatjou want extreme laws, because humans make mistakes, humans abuse their own power. It is so incoherent. It's like this is a no-brainer. I feel like, dude, I mean, this is not hard to understand. And this guy is supposedly so smart and so sophisticated and brings forth such an idiotic argument, which makes me think this guy is not so stupid. He is smart. But why does somebody who is intelligent come up with such an idiotic argument that fails at the very beginning and contradicts its very own core?
It's because the only explanation is that's what dogma does to you. Yeah. He cannot get out of that. So it's a part of his faith that I have to defend it. Now, how do I defend it? Let's think about it. Maybe fertility rates going down. Okay, how do I pin that on human rights? I mean, he could have pinned that on postmodernism. That would have been just as irrelevant as putting that on human rights. But he picked that on human rights because that was a topic of the debate. Sharia is supposed to be women's rights, human rights, and he went on fertility rate. And again, as I said, but it wasn't even true to begin with. It's not even true. So that's one argument he gave about wife beating, that if she doesn't do her whatever she's supposed to do, whatever her roles are, including providing sex, then he has a right to physically discipline her. But what else did he say? Look at this one. This is your excerpt, though, so I'm going to play that one. Well done on those excerpts, though, and keep them coming.
Man, I love them. I have more.
We have enough content for next 2 months. And I want more. Please, Haqiqatjou, you think that you did such a good... it's the same thing now. I know why you said that. If you think that you destroyed me, please destroy me again. I want to be destroyed again. Please, let's do it again. This time, any topic of your choice. Okay. Wait now I know that. Now I know the level of his intellect, whether that's fertility rate or whatever that is. Please destroy me again. I want to be destroyed. You're making our job so much easier. So have a look at this. This is how you're making a job easier.
Well, I want to say one thing, Harris, before we go on with that. So Daniel Haqiqatjou for a very long time claimed that he and I had a debate, and that he defeated me in this debate. And recently, I even just said, just so he can agree to another debate, I said, okay, yeah, you defeated me, I lost. So I would never agree to a debate with him on whether Sharia is just or not. That would be a very strange idea for me, because I would first off debate whether the Islamic claims are true or not. This is just me. I don't debate these things. I didn't agree to a debate. I agreed to have him on my channel for a discussion, an interview where he can freely speak his own ideas, as I already announced in advance. He then said, well, because it escalated and it became a back and forth, he said this was a debate and all that. Fine. Okay. But I'm telling you here again, dear Daniel Haqiqatjou, I know you are watching this. I know you will watch this. I offered to you a debate before about whether Islam is true or not. I know you will never accept such a debate, because that is discussing theology and epistemology is not something that you can actually do. You are very weak with that. You instead want to talk about laws. But fine. If there was a misunderstanding before in our past, and if you really, truly want to have a debate on the topic of Sharia and human rights, I would love to. This is my debate offer. I would love to have a debate with you, a real debate this time, where I have an opening statement, you have an opening statement, we have a discussion, we have responses and all that. And I assure you, I will respond to all of your sources, including the book War Before Civilization, which you greatly took out of context. And I will respond to your points, and I will show to you and to your audience how shallow your evidences are and how dumb your position actually is. I would never agree to such a debate topic, but I want to do it this time for the sake of just showing how ridiculous your entire argument is. Please, Daniel Haqiqatjou, accept this.
And while you're doing that, please, Daniel, as you say that you destroyed me, even though your blood pressure was shooting up and you were going red, and my little harmless jokes, which is just my nature to just crack a little joke, just to just cool down things, and you weren't happy with that. I'll promise I wouldn't even make those jokes, but let's do another one. And any moderator of your choice, it doesn't have to be Muslim. Like I'm thinking maybe it can be Muslim as well. Like I can even throw someone in, like maybe get a Muslim in as well, who could just moderate the debate. And no opening statement, no monologues, because now as I see that a lot of information gets lost. You claim that there were so many things that you wanted to respond to, but you didn't get the chance to do it. So let's have an hour and a half open discussion like that. No time, no nothing. We just keep talking unless we have finished a point, with a moderator who just makes sure that we don't start talking on top of each other. Let's do another one. And on fertility rate again, if you want. I am more than happy to do it again. Just fertility rate. Forget about everything else. Just fertility rate. Because now I have found out you are like Muhammad Hijab, who actually lies through. There's no study that says Sharia supports or Sharia increases fertility rate. Okay, maybe you didn't say that. You said Sharia promotes family values, or that. There's no study that says that. And also in Sharia part, you're saying wife beating or patriarchal society somehow support that. So in which means wife beating is this specific element, because that's what I'm concerned about when it comes to family values and Sharia. Wife beating element. That's what I'm concerned about. So show me a study that says more you beat your wife, fertility rate goes up. I am hands down for it, because I know that can't be the case. You know why? Because there are so many Western women who get beat up by their husbands too. Is it something like 1 in 3 or something? Women face domestic violence. So how come those women in the West are not making as many babies? Because obviously it's got nothing to do with human rights or family values or anything. It's got very directly related to do. It's got to do with the actual GDP, economic prosperity, as I showed it earlier. So Haqiqatjou, anytime, son, anytime. You're making businesses booming thanks to you.
Quick note, Count Dracula said, are we just going to ignore that he said he would allow his children to get murdered if they leave their religion, apostate prophet? I do have that in mind. I actually put that aside to also make an excerpt of that, in which he said that he, I think the focus there was on homosexuality, where he agreed that he would
No, he dodged it. No, but he dodged it. No, but he dodged the question. You know how
he dodged it. He first became angry and
but then I covered it up. But then I finished his sentence at the end. So basically throw them off the rooftops. I think I said that at the end. So specific question was, if one of your child turns out to be homosexual, would you apply Sharia on them? He said, would I apply Sharia on them? Yes, I would. But he didn't specifically say. So I finished the sentence. I said, yes, okay, you'll throw them off the rooftops. Right, good, okay. So there's so many questions.
I'll post the excerpt of that. You will see that.
Yeah, he's not that honest as you claim he is. Okay, so we're talking about wife beating part, yeah? So he justified it. He said, okay, well, would you rather have the state beat your wife, or you would rather have her beaten up by someone she loves, like a beating husband? So what other excuses he gave for wife beating? Let's have a look.
Daniel, if a husband forces sex upon his wife against her will, is that wrong under Sharia?
So Islam comes with certain marital rights. Husbands have certain rights and duties. For example, the husband has to provide shelter, he has to provide clothing, he has to provide food, and the state, the qadi, basically the Islamic state, can force the husband to provide for his wife and for his children and his family. This is something that's good. This is an important policy that reduces the man's individual liberty. And similarly, the woman's individual liberty is also restricted, that if the husband has a reasonable request for sexual relations, then she is obligated to comply with that. If she decides not to, he can't start beating her and he can't start abusing her in a violent way. But the qadi can say that, look, you're not meeting your spousal duties, and therefore you will forfeit your mahr, for example, the bride dowry. You'll forfeit your other privileges as a wife. So there's give and take in marriage. That's why Islam is beautiful, because it creates this dependency between husband and wife. It's not like modern sexless marriages in the West where women say, oh, I can leave my husband to have no sex for months because I don't feel like it. I'm a strong, independent woman. And meanwhile, the husband is working his tail off trying to provide for his family, but there's no obligation on his wife to reciprocate in any kind, because she's a strong, independent feminist and she has to have maximum choice and opportunity. But the poor devil, he has to work and provide for all of that with no compensation or anything in return.
Husband gives shelter, so he has a right to beat her up.
I hate to do this.
So husband, his argument was husband gives her shelter, so beat her up. And then another point that he made at that point, he said, what did he say? He said, the poor guy works all day. Isn't that there was a clip from Mike Tyson when he was at his crazy stage when he said, man, I work so hard, I get beaten up, I get punched in the face, can't I even get a BJ? That's what he said. This is what Haqiqatjou is saying. The man, I'm going out, I'm working hard, and I can't even get sex because she says that I'm a strong, independent woman. I mean, how are these arguments, or how are these conservative Muslims who are so conservative about sex is dirty or this, we don't talk about this, we have aura, we have this shame, honor, we don't talk about these things. And here he is openly talking about these. I don't know. These are how do they see these arguments as good arguments? It beats me.
Okay, here Shoaib Mohammed said you got caught misrepresenting him. He denied that husband can beat his wife. False. What we are saying here is not that he said here in the specific clip that you can start beating her up.
There's
and all
a previous one.
What we're saying is that in the other part, he already said about wife beating that it is a man's right to discipline his wife. I mean, we just played that. He said he basically compared the husband to the state or to an employer who can discipline his wife by beating her. He already admitted that because the man is a caretaker, and he also admitted here now that the man has the right to get sex whenever he wants. So we're not misrepresenting anything here.
That's the part where he said that she can
be. Respond with arguments. I'll just respond to this wife beating argument. Islam says power should be distributed across kinship groups. And this means that the patriarch has authority to physically discipline members of his family, including his wives.
There you go, including his wives, physically discipline them. So he said it. What part you didn't get it, son? That's the guy who, that's the guy whose flute you're blowing.
I want to address a few things, Harris.
Sure.
with the clip that we just played, before that one, where he talked about how the husband can force sex upon his wife. So these people who follow guys like Daniel Haqiqatjou like to point out logical fallacies and things like, logical fallacies, distractions, and all that. They love to point such things out. In that very little short speech of 1 minute, 2 minutes, he made a number of very serious fallacies. And number one, what he did throughout the entire debate, and especially the Q&As, he avoided the actual point of the question and tried beating around the bush. He made a red herring, which he makes the entire time during the debate, which means instead of directly addressing the issue, he tries to distract from it by bringing up certain things that appear interesting and appear good, such as that the husband has these and these rights and the husband has restrictions and this and that, stuff that is completely irrelevant to the topic. He makes a red herring fallacy. You go on, he brings up another fallacy, which he does during the entire debate, which is the whataboutism, or the Tukok fallacy, where he Tukoki, whatever it's called, whatever it's pronounced, where he distracts from the topic by responding, what about you guys? Or what about the West? What about the secular West? What about the evil West? The West does this and does that and does that. He responded to many questions, some of which he didn't properly answer, by always either directly pointing at the evil, corrupt West, or by eventually concluding the topic and bringing it to the evil West. He can just not stay off the evil, terrible, ignorant, immoral West. He also made a generalization, basically saying that this is what Western women are, and this is what happens in the West, and with feminism and all that. He made a slippery slope in which he argued that not having this specific law will lead to a society where people are sexless and where people engage in sexless marriages, which is extremely absurd. What he's basically arguing is that if there is no such law that women have to have sex with their husbands when the husbands want it, then this will lead to a sexless, a society full of sexless marriages, and so on. He's engaging in so many fallacious arguments in just 1 minute, and he did that throughout the entire debate. And people who follow him are so blind, they actually fall for that, and they don't even see it. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. There's so many points that okay, and well, let's go through that. And Denver Johnson saying, thank you very much for the super chat, saying, I'm glad that Daniel Haqiqatjou admitted his mindset. Most apologists dodge and play between the lines. At least he's clear about his stance. Props to him. He's actually only selectively clear about certain stances, like sex slavery, wife beating, child marriages. He's only selectively. What he does in order to defend these practices, he invents scenarios and studies and his own opinions. For example, the most obvious one, the whole debate, the one thing you can take away from that, apart from this, his defense of child marriages, sex slavery, and wife beating, apart from that, the one thing you can take away from them, he's saying human rights lower the fertility rate, as though, and the whole human civilization is going to collapse, and human rights is the biggest issue. Human rights are extremists. That's what he said. The solution to that is Sharia. And we showed you Sharia or human rights have got nothing to do with fertility rate. That has got directly to do with your economic prosperity. So I shared that in my Twitter. So even his central argument, he got that wrong as well. So that's not where it ends. Trolif is saying, I live in Mecca of Mormonism, Utah, and this sadly reminds me of Joseph Smith. Stay away from Mormonism, stay away from Islam. Thank you very much for your super chat. And
thank you so much.
And your comment. So that's not all there is. What about child marriages? And we'll just go through all the arguments. So he apparently asked me some 3 questions, and I just never got the chance to actually go there, because as soon as the discussion started, his attack was on human rights and whatever I could get in. I never got the chance to respond to those 3 questions. I don't even remember what those 3 questions were. But he actually did not answer to at least 6 of my questions as well, 6 of my points as well. You spoke about, he's talking about, what about the evil West? I say Muslim countries are terrible places to live in, right? I am never going there. You can multiply my income 10 times, and I think I said that if you, when he gave me this hypothetical, would you go there? I said, I personally wouldn't go. I wouldn't. I love Australia. I love there. Everything is beautiful there. But if you did that and my whole family could move there, maybe I might think about it. And I know other people might think about it. I personally wouldn't, because I'm quite happy. But now reverse the scenario. Give me 10 times more than what I'm making and say, Haris, you can live in Afghanistan. I ain't going there. I'm not going there. So what about why, if West is so evil, what is it? People who deal with interest are definitely going to hell. And there are two other sins as well, because Muhammad used to say things in three. So there's one particular hadith. You're living in a Western democracy that is, according to you, thriving on the blood of Muslims and this evil imperialism by killing countless amounts of Afghan and Iraqi Muslims and who knows how many. You're living in a society where your kids are more than likely, and I raised that point, I said your kids are more than likely going to be taken over by this Western culture. When they grow up, come of age, they're going to go to the nightclubs. They're going to make a girlfriend. They're going to, if they're daughters, they might actually like some boys as well. They're going to drink alcohol at some point. They're not going to look at the dad and they're going to say, dad believes in child marriage or whatever. So, okay, we're going to be just like that. It's not going to happen. You're fighting against the teens. You're fighting against teenagers. Not going to happen. So why are you taking the risk? As I said, I don't know about you, because Turkish culture might be different. I know so many Pakistani families, when their children come of age, around 9-10 years of age, they go back to Pakistan because they say, oh, our kids are now entering the dangerous territory where they might. Yeah. So they go back, and then they come back when it comes to university or something. So they've kind of brainwashed them. So why is Daniel Haqiqatjou taking that risk? You know what he said? He said, jihad is not obligatory. Okay, is that it? So now jihad is not obligatory. I'm going to live in a Western country. Did you notice how he didn't bring up the same argument that he brought up with you, that, oh, my family's here, because I was going to bring up the hadith. I said that your family.
You actually asked him. You asked him, do you like your family? Do you love your family more than Muhammad? I think you asked that, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
and
yeah,
he didn't respond to it.
He didn't answer that. He didn't respond to it. So there were so many questions that went unanswered. Well, he made the claim. Didn't he make the claim in that you actually told me about his story? I didn't even know that, and like I was riff-raffing between. I was confused whether I should bring it up or not, and I did say my heart goes out to the Haqiqatjou family for this terrible tragedy that went out. But in that article he wrote, he said that all I'm going to say is don't leave me alone in a room with someone who commits violence against women. Right. So he said that. And I quoted 4 instances. Really? Where he wrote that in that article. He said, all I'm going to say, don't leave me in a room with those who beat up women or who commit violence against women. These were his actual words. So I said, what about Umar? Umar beat up his own wife. There's a famous hadith. I quoted that hadith. Umar beat up the slave girl of Anas. Umar beat up the sister of Abu Bakr. And Umar beat up another woman. And there must be quite a few as well. So I quoted those 4 stories, and I asked him point blank, what would you do if you're in a room with Omar? He didn't answer it. And there's so many questions that he actually didn't answer. So don't say he's actually honest. He's not that honest as you make him out to be. He's only honest about the very basics.
I want to show you something to show how dishonest he actually is. I asked a very specific question in a super chat toward the end of the debate, because I thought, hey, if he has to answer this question somehow, I wonder if he will give a direct answer to this. So let me share this quickly. I will share my screen here. So share system audio. Let me know if this works.
Slaves.
Yeah, working.
The apostate prophet says, does Daniel want to go back to creating an Islamic empire and spreading Islam? Does he want to bring slavery back in that case?
Yeah, so I mentioned this argument about slavery, a world with slavery.
Okay, wait, this is not the right part. Wait, wait, I will find the right one and get back to
it. You find that. Okay, so in the meantime, I'll just talk about what else did he actually say, what he actually said about child marriages. So he's honest about that, but his justifications are atrocious. And why wouldn't they be? Because there is no justification for child marriages. He basically was implying not in this particular clip, but in a wider segment, he basically was making a case for there are studies, the younger the girls are when they get married, better, more children, healthy children they're going to make. So how young? 9, 10, 11, 12? Okay, so there you go.
I think I got it now.
Apostate prophet says, Daniel, do you prefer Islamic law or secularism? If you had the power, would you want to return the U.S. into an Islamic country, what would happen to the resistant, disbelieving men and women in this Islamic America?
We all know the answer, right? We all know
we just want to hear it. We just want to hear it from.
We all know the answer. If he prefers secularism or Islamic State, if he wants to turn America into an Islamic State, we all know the answer. It's very clear.
But we also want that the whole point of that was not to refute him, but to expose him.
Yeah.
There are a lot of Westerners. James's audience was watching that as well. We want them to say, "Watch it," and they're like, "What?"
I know. I made the super chat solely. Because I know exactly what he believes in, and I want him to speak it out right there on Modern Day Debate with all those non-Muslim viewers. That's the entire point. But see how he responds to this.
So there's a lot of ways to spread Islam, right? And I invite non-Muslims in America and throughout the world to look into Islam, investigate Islam, look at these arguments that I'm making, and have an open mind. Like, you see this kind of con game and hoax that people like Harris and Apus are doing, where they're trying to, repeat the same talking points, but it's all based on lies. And when you actually understand how Islam and Sharia law, orthodox, strict Sharia law, is promoting family and marriage and community and results in flourishing of human life, all people, and how this has been the case for 1400 years, then people will be open and will want to accept Islam. This is my message to non-Muslims watching, and I do it with a very sincere and open heart.
Didn't answer it.
See, he never answered the question.
Didn't answer it.
He never answered a very simple question, because I knew exactly that this is an extremely hard-hitting question. And if he did answer this, he would be in big trouble. But he never, ever answered the question. He instead distracted completely, made some stupid rhetoric. He looks very tired and angry anyway at that time, because he already got some questions from me.
He was smashed. He was smashed at that point.
And on top of that, while not giving an answer to the actual question, which shows that he's not so honest, not as honest as he claims to be, because he would be in trouble if he did give a proper answer to this question. He also then, for some reason, references Harris and me and says that we are just, liars who bring up the same talking points, which are all based on lies. What is based on a lie? Where is the lie here? I mean, I don't understand. He does express that he wants to impose Islam on the whole world. He answered the same question earlier. He does say that slavery is okay, even in the present or future time. So what exactly are we lying about? Are we lying about the idea that these things are bad or wrong? Is that what he means by we are liars? I don't know. But see, he's not as honest as he claims to be and as people think he is. He could be more honest. And I invite Daniel Haqiqatjou hereby to be more honest to us.
There is another argument that he made, which I responded to, I think, at some point, because again, it just goes in so many points, and we will get a clip out of that, because he's making like 6 different points, and when you think of that, I wrote so many points, but then you just respond to certain points at a random time, and people have forgotten about it, and his cheerleaders are so high on the excitement that they're not even listening. There's foam coming out of their mouth. So he said. And I'm again steelmanning. Please correct me if I get it wrong. He said that back in the day, slavery was the norm. Yes, in this day and age, slavery was bad, but it was the norm. But in this day and age, we've invented horrible weapons, and those weapons have somehow finished slavery, because now this is even worse than what it was. So there's no correlation with the modern day weaponry with slavery. The movement to abolish slavery, and I said that, came out. It was on full speed by 19th century, especially after French Revolution. British were doing the same, and then the middle of the 19th century, we had the Civil War, and the Tsar of Russia, I think it was Alexander II, he was doing that too. That is pre-advanced and dangerous weaponry. The nukes have got nothing to do with that. Secondly, nukes are not used in every war. There's only been 2 cases when nukes have actually been used. You could still go, and as ISIS did, you could still go and take sex slaves. According to Daniel Haqiqatjou as well, if we got rid of slavery, that's got nothing to do with weapons. It's got to do with the evolving morality and the discourse that led us to. So, and now that's the point. This point I didn't mention is if my soldiers attack his village, the point I mentioned, but not in this context, attack his village, his wife will throw Muhammad under the bus, and she would say, well, where are my human rights? Please don't take me as a sex slave. And I'm not personally saying his wife. I'm just saying anyone, any woman at that point would not want to be taken as sex slave. What about all those women that Muhammad enslaved and his men did? Another direct question I asked him, and I asked him about how would you feel that people come to your village, they murder your men, they take your women as sex slaves, they have to have sex with the very people who murdered their loved ones, their fathers and husbands and sons. And not only that, imagine the level of conversation that's taking place. My soldiers come to me and say, General Haris Sultan, we have found so-and-so's, so and Abdul or Bashir or Muhammad's wife. Should we drop our load? I'm sorry about the conversation, but this is exactly what's written in the hadith. Should we drop our load inside her or we should pull it out? I asked that question to him. Where's the answer? How would you? This is the greatest mercy on the planet, is actually telling. That's the kind of conversation. I compared Muhammad with Stalin. Yes, they always throw Stalin in our faces. Yeah. Stalin was anti-human rights. We're not. If anything, Stalin is more similar to Muhammad. I drew the analogy. When German women were being raped left, right, and center by the Red Army, when the news reached to Generalissimo, Comrade Stalin, that these women are being raped by a red soldier. You know what Stalin said? Stalin said, "Oh, they've been through a lot. Let them have some fun." This is exactly what Muhammad did. At that battle of after that, according to the hadith, Otas, we came across some captive women. So we said, why don't we go and ask our prophet, should we drop our load inside her or we should pull it out? Captive women. Where's the answer to that? So don't say he's honest. He's not honest. His skin crawls at some point. He's a sadist, though, as I said. He was upset about that, but he's a sadist. But even he knows that these are hard-hitting questions and we shouldn't respond to them. He didn't respond to it.
Here's one thing that I want to bring up, so it doesn't look like Harris is just making this up. But here is the actual hadith, which talks about the situation. I entered the mosque and saw Abu Sa'id al-Khudri and sat beside him and asked him about about coitus interruptus, so pulling out during sex. And Abu Sa'id said, we went out with Allah's messenger for the Ghazwa of Banu al-Mustalik, for the campaign of Banu al-Mustalik. Banu al-Mustalik was a tribe that was between Mecca and the Muslims, and they fought with them in order to reach Mecca. And we received captives from among the Arab captives, and we desired women, and celibacy became hard on us, and we loved to do coitus interruptus, pulling out with those with those captives. So when we intended to do it, we said, how can we do coitus interruptus before asking Allah's messenger who is present among us? So we asked him about it, and he said, it is better for you not to do so, for if any soul is predestined to exist, it will exist.
So basically, he's not saying, when Muhammad says it is better for you not to do so, he's not saying, no, don't rape them. He's saying, no, don't pull out. But if you leave, if you drop the load inside, that would be better. But still, it's okay.
Yeah, you don't need to pull out. It's like what's destined to happen will happen. Just do it. You don't need to pull out with those servants.
Because they were concerned about bastard kids, basically, or kids from the slave women, because then they can't sell them. They become useless. Because if your slave girl becomes pregnant, you can't sell the slave baby or the slave girl. So they become useless. They don't worth anymore. But now they used to, okay, we're pulling out. They're not impregnated. Now we can sell them to someone else. This is a perfectly legal practice. And this guy and his cheerleaders advocate for this morality. And then they say, yeah, we won. I mean, sure, keep winning, please. But again, as I said, they're not 100% honest either. He didn't answer this question either. He didn't answer the whole concept of objective morality, subjective morality. And now they're making fun of snails. The whole point was your morality is subjective, and he admitted it. He said some things are objective, some things are not. So hang on. So the whole Sharia that you're saying is subjective then. It is subjective, right? So he admitted it. So their biggest argument against us is that, oh, your morality is subjective. By the way, our subjective morality ended up abolishing slavery and protecting women from becoming sex slaves.
Lindsay Mary made a chat, which is basically representative of what Daniel Haqiqatjou would say in response to this. If they pull out, they will be contributing to extinction.
Yeah.
That sounds like something that he would say, definitely.
And look, there's actually some truth in that, because this is the reason why Muslims are actually obsessed with increasing their numbers. So that's what Prophet Muhammad also said: don't pull out, leave it in there, drop it in there. Doesn't matter, make more babies. At least they're going to be Muslims.
So let me show you a brief part about the whole slavery thing. I want to correct one thing, Harris. When he talked about slavery, he did not actually imply or mean to say that slavery is nowadays not acceptable, or that that it was abolished for certain reasons and this and that. He merely tried to say that slavery is no longer in existence because of advanced weapons and this and that. But he didn't give any opinion on whether on that it is bad or that it was meant to end. In fact, he did talk about the possibility of bringing it back. By the way, a little small point on that: he kept referencing a book called War Before Civilization by Lawrence Keeley. Yeah, I actually looked into that book because he brought it up before in a different discussion with me. And the whole book, which he references, does not really support his point. The book basically tries to look into civilizations and tries to argue that despite our imaginations and depictions of ancient civilizations, humans were actually very violent savages in the past. Even the most supposedly peaceful civilizations. And he's basically laying all that out and talking about how violent humans were. He's not arguing for how taking slaves, for example, is a functional thing. He's merely pointing out about how slavery in some societies was a necessity, or was considered a necessity. Daniel Haqiqatjou is of Persian origin, of Iranian origin. He should very well know that the Persians were a civilization that didn't have slaves. They were known as people who were against slavery long before Muhammad. It was against their moral values.
Indians didn't have slavery either. They had other issues. They had caste system, but it wasn't slavery. So slavery was mostly Middle Eastern and European problem. And some African as well. Yeah.
But let's come to this.
So I'm going to address slavery and sex slavery, but let me just be explicit for the audience, since Harris doesn't seem to be getting it. I'm arguing that Sharia law is superior to human rights because Sharia rule preserves marriage and family, okay? And human rights doesn't. It destroys marriage and family and community and the human race. That's the argument. So let's move on to slavery. The reality is, to win a war in the pre-modern period, it was all about manpower. The main factor in whether your people would live or die was numbers. So this meant that if you won a battle, you couldn't just let the captives go, because they would just regroup and attack you again or join your enemies. So you only had two options. You either had to kill or enslave. Neither option is good, right? But that's just the nature of war. You always have to use violence against the other side. You either kill or enslave. So Harris, you want to criticize Islam and call Islam barbaric for having slavery, but imagine if I asked you this question: do you support using weapons in war? Do you support using guns to shoot people or swords to stab people and kill people? Do you support that? Because all of that is
I mean, he's doing something very stupid, which he did again during the whole discussion, especially when he said, do you support laws? Well, if you support laws, then you also support the idea that women should be accountable and that women should be beaten or even killed in certain situations. So how can you possibly object to disciplining women physically? He somehow has this weird, messed up idea that if you support one form of something, then you support everything else that has anything to do with it. Just because you might support the idea of a necessary defensive war and a necessary army to for the defense of your own realm, that doesn't mean that you also thereby support genocides. This is very stupid. I mean, I don't know.
Presumably, you'd say, yeah, of course I support weapons and killing, because how else are you going to fight war and defend yourself? Well, that's exactly the point with slavery. In the pre-modern period, you couldn't have war without slavery any more than you could have war without weapons and killing.
False. Many civilizations in the world have lived very well without slavery. And I said before to him, and I said this in the past, and his fans keep misrepresenting me, I said that slavery is historically justifiable. People did commit slavery. They did do this. They did this for a reason. They did this out of necessity. They thought, well, okay, I guess we should just take them as slaves, otherwise they will attack us. It is historically justifiable. It is simply not a good solution, and definitely not applicable today. It is with everything that we know.
And as per the claim, Islam is for all times. It's a perfect book. Quran says that today I've completed the instructions for you. So what kind of a complete instruction is that? That it's not even complete according to them now. Like he's okay. Like I actually didn't pick that up. You pointed out that he actually wasn't saying that no, slavery shouldn't be applied now. He was just simply saying that slavery is not possible because of these dangerous weaponry, which is obviously bullshit. You don't drop nukes. You can. What was stopping America? What was actually stopping America from going to Afghanistan and Iraq, when all those men that were killed, just taking the women to some American base there and raping them? What was stopping the United States? The modern ethics, right? The UN Charter, yeah? Those soldiers, whoever did commit crimes in Abu Ghraib and wherever, they within power, whatever you could do, there were court-martials. They were tried for war crimes. Serbians who committed war crimes against Bosnians, they were charged with war crimes. In Muhammad's worldview, in a Sharia worldview, forget about getting charged for war crime. Oh, that was a necessity, so we just did some coitus interruptus and we did some pulling out. That's what this is their whole argument. It just doesn't make any sense. But it makes sense to these guys.
Yeah. Let's move on.
In other words, if killing people can sometimes be justified, then slavery can also sometimes be justified. And this is exactly what your friend, apostate prophet, accepted with open arms in our debate last year.
False. He leads the whole lie, and people who listen to him simply follow him. I never said that it is acceptable. I said that slavery is historically, I don't know what if he knows what historically means. He should, by the books that he gives us as references. I said that slavery is historically justifiable or justified, and this is not something that I just admitted during our discussion with him. Before our discussion, I made a video in which I talked about slavery, in which I explained that in the past slavery was a norm for certain purposes, which is why I would not sit here today and condemn Muhammad as a slave trader, within the context of his time. I only called out Muhammad because Muhammad is supposed to be, the universal, timeless moral example for all humankind. That's what happened, guys. It's not very hard.
Imagine in the future they invent a new technology for war where a laser shoots from space and can directly target any person in the world. And the technology is so precise that there are zero casualties other than the intended target. Then people in this future might look back at our time and say, look how barbaric those people in the 21st century were. Look how barbaric with their tanks and guns and bombs.
That would be very short-sighted of those people in the future, but it would be especially strange if people in that future still argued that we should not have to use that technology. We should instead just bomb countries unnecessarily.
Those people,
the wrong comparison.
And those people would only be calling us barbaric if people of our time are saying that this is it, this is the only way to conduct a war. Then they will be saying, how stupid were these guys who thought that this was the perfect way to conduct a war? As Muhammad says, or Quran claims that this is it. I've completed the book for you. It's got everything in it, from rules, from how to treat your wife, how to treat your slave, to how to conduct wars. These are the claims of Islam, of the Quran and the whole Islamic theology. So then they would say that. So again, Haqiqatjou, I mean, this guy is supposed to be smart. I mean, the Harvard graduates, they need to be sent these videos.
He is acting like we are criticizing and condemning the past. That's not the point of this at all.
I've said it so many times, and Muhammad was product of his time. I actually sometimes been criticized for saying that he wasn't overly evil either, as some people say. I actually don't call him overly evil. I just say he was a product of his time.
Yeah.
But don't tell me that he was the perfect role model for all times. He's obviously not.
Absolutely.
Would that make any sense? That's exactly what you're doing by criticizing Islam for slavery. You should just acknowledge that slavery could be completely justified in certain circumstances, which, by the way, are the circumstances people have lived in for 99% of human history. Now, if you want to argue that Islam requires enslaving people today, I would say that that is not correct. It depends on the imam.
Look, he did not say that it is not okay to enslave people today. What he says is that it is not required to enslave people. And he just added that today part for no reason, actually, because he's right. The Islamic State, the Islamic ruler, is not required to enslave the enemies of Islam. But what is exactly is the point of bringing that up? That's like saying, hey, I have the right to, massacre people, but I don't have to. I could also choose to forgive them. Well, it's great. So what? That doesn't change the fact that I still have the right to massacre people. It doesn't change the fact that the Islamic State is still within their rights, according to Islam, to enslave people. Bringing up the principle of, possible forgiveness does nothing at all to this discussion.
So are you telling me? So he actually fooled me on this one.
Yes, he did.
I actually thought he did. I actually thought that he was saying, and this is why I think at some point I did say that to him, that have you changed your worldview on that, on bring back slavery? Because I was told that his view is bring back slavery, and I said that. I said, oh, have you changed? Because I thought that he's saying it's not applicable today. So that's what I thought in that debate, that this is what he's saying. But there you go. That's another question he dodged again, because I said to him, oh, don't you believe in bring back slavery again? And he didn't respond to that. So he does believe in that. Wow. Who says that he's honest?
I mean, he said to me just a year ago that slavery would come back in his ideal future, where an Islamic empire would be established. He said it to myself. If he did change his mind on that, and I don't see any indication from that, then it would be very important for him to come out and to say, hey, you know what, guys, I changed my mind. I no longer support slavery in the present and the future. But he didn't do that, and he here didn't change his mind either. But let's keep listening. See, sorry for going on with this, but this is very important, I think.
You read fiqh, Islamic jurisprudence, this is very clear. There's no requirement that people captured in war are enslaved. This is discussed in classical fiqh books. For example, Bidayat al-Mujtahid by Ibn Rushd in the 12th century.
See, 12th century, and people since then have enslaved people for centuries, which he supported and justified. So he is arguing from something that was already around in the 12th century, which is not that slavery is not good or shouldn't be done, but rather that it is an option, but not necessary, but not a necessity. So the ruler can say, okay, you know what, guys, let's forgive these enemies. Let's not enslave them.
Go to Kitab al-Jihad, and he summarizes the position of the four Sunni schools of fiqh. The imam has the option to pardon people and forego taking slaves in war.
Forgo.
The imam does not have the option to suspend, for example, hudud punishments for lashing for fornicators. But taking slaves is one of those issues where the imam can forego if it's in the best interest of the Muslim community.
In the best interest. So he can choose to forgive and to forgo, to pardon and to forgo, but he is within his rights to do that. So it's a choice.
So my argument about Baghdadi was right. So Baghdadi saying that who is UN or the United States or these Westerners to tell me that I'm not allowed to take these Yazidi girls as sex slaves? Who are you? Who are they?
Yeah,
I'm going to take them as sex slaves. It's up to him. It's upon his discretion to either take them or let them go. Yeah. But I can take it. That's what he's saying. Yep. So that he didn't clearly answer it. It's being very tricky, right?
Because according to Islam and according to the fiqh of the schools and even the independent fuqaha, the scholars and all that, it is an eternal command that there is nothing that explicitly abolishes slavery, and it says you may no longer take slaves in these circumstances. Slavery is always as a concept existent within the Quran. The Quran makes commands about slavery. The Quran treats slavery as normal, and Muhammad directly supports it and does it. So
hypothetical imam could exercise this option and still be 100% consistent with the most strict understanding of traditional Islamic law.
option.
Now, Harris, since you seem to be ignorant about these details about Islamic law, I'll do you a favor and steelman your argument for you. You could respond to me and say, well, Daniel, fine, slavery could be justified in the past, but now with modern technology, modern weapons, clearly slavery could never be justified. That means Islamic rules regarding slavery are not justifiable in our modern context, which means at least one aspect of Islamic law is obsolete. And if one aspect of Islamic law is obsolete due to modern technology, then why not all of Islamic law?
So here he is now tackling the entire argument. Slavery was justified in the past, but is no longer today justified. And if it's not just if one aspect of Sharia is not justified, then the whole Sharia could just go down the drain. And he wants to counter that now. So
I think I clearly purely zoned out on this because I genuinely thought that he was saying that he's making the argument that slavery is just not justified in this modern day and age because we have this modern weaponry and it's just not possible. So he's contextualizing it in terms of the time periods, that in those time periods we didn't have those modern weaponry, and that's why. So there you go. So I obviously, in that case, because I thought maybe he had turned off his compassion switch just a little bit, but obviously I was wrong.
So yeah, he goes on after this part, basically arguing that and then he asks you the whole question, like, do you prefer slavery or do you prefer a nuclear war and annihilation and all that? So there you are between these two choices, and he does not prefer the new way of mass killings and mass destruction. He thinks that slavery is in comparison a better option, and that it may still be applied today. So this is his stance. He's arguing for slavery, and even people who follow him came onto my channel and said, I saw one or two people who said he doesn't argue for slavery today. Well, you're not getting it. He does. He says it is justifiable today. He's explaining that very well.
Right. So this is the intellect of the people that we're dealing with. So he goes, Harris, how better to be a slave and have a lot of rights for 20 years, or to be locked in a room for 20 years if you're a criminal? So what kind of a crime would put me in prison for 20 years? I'm assuming murder, right? Or rape. So these guys who are enslaved are not murderers or rapists. They're just simply, they've been captured. They just lost the war, So that's why. So if I was a murderer or rapist, depends on who you rape. But let's just say if I was a murderer of a Muslim guy, I wouldn't get the choice to be a slave. I'll get beheaded. So no, even in that case, I would rather be in prison for 20 years so I could come out. So these guys don't even know their own arguments. So that's what we're dealing with.
Dear Ahmad Ashraf, I think you think you're doing Islam a favor, and you think you're doing Daniel Haqiqatjou a favor here, but that is a horrible argument. It is extremely stupid. Please stop it. I'm sorry for you. Go ahead, Harris.
Look, so I just wanted to go with this next topic where he basically spoke about child marriages, which is obviously a disgusting part. And disgusting, people say that disgusting is no argument. Disgusting actually is an argument, because they're natural disgust that we establish. It has a very strong evolutionary purpose. For example, if I gave you distilled urine, would you drink it? Probably not, because you'll be disgusted by it, because our biological mechanism has created this feeling of disgust, and we stay away from that. Now, some parts of disgust are actually artificial, in a sense that we get disgusted if we see blood, if we see someone's neck being cut off. Unless you're a sadist and your compassion switch is totally switched off, like Daniel Haqiqatjou, we don't want to watch it, even if it's your enemy. Like, I saw some videos on when these Afghan supposedly had captured some Taliban who I don't like. They were slicing their necks off, and I couldn't watch it. So that disgust serves a purpose. So disgust also serves a purpose, and there's a reason why a lot of other animal species don't actually commit pedophilia. I think bonobos are probably one of the very few ones who do that. But anyway, so disgust is actually not a bad argument. But having said that, this is his argument. So let's have a look what he actually has to say on child marriages. Thank you very much, Ridwan, for actually making this.
Marriage to 9-year-olds is not considered pedophilia. What is pedophilia are the practices of modern pedophiles who go into the closet and diddle little kids.
How is this not a money shot? Just tell me. I mean, the whole the whole language is being reinvented here. Just listen to this part again.
Marriage to 9-year-olds is not considered pedophilia.
So it's not considered pedophilia. I mean, what is pedophilia then? So having sex with a child is not pedophilia. Can you explain that?
I actually, I know what he's going for, which is why I put the whole thing up there. Pedophilia in psychology is described as, this unusual sexual interest in, technically in prepubescent children, which is technically in the most rigid form, that is what's called pedophilia. And there is an argument, there is a debate on whether that is a mental disorder or whether it cannot be classified as a mental disorder, whether it's part of a different disorder, and so on. So there is that whole discussion going on. There is then a difference between being sexually interested in prepubescent children or, post-pubescent or pubescent children. There is that whole difference. But this issue has nothing to do at all with the question that's being asked and with what you're bringing up, which is the whole idea of having sex with a child. A 6-year-old. That was the question. A 6-year-old marrying a 6-year-old can still be practically, it can be considered pedophilia. He's just stuck on the rigid definition of what psychology says about this, which again is completely unrelated to the topic.
Which is the reason why nobody allows, no sane country would allow sex with a 9-year-old, even if she's had she has reached puberty, because puberty is just one element of it. Her body hasn't even grown to that point, so he's just going into psychology. Okay, so that was his trap. Okay,
and the funny thing is, what I just want to ask in response to this, to Daniel Haqiqatjou is, okay, if you are ready to say this, and if you are ready to say there is nothing wrong with the Islamic form of child marriage because you will get married to the child, whereas in this modern form of pedophilia you are molesting children, well, what exactly is wrong with pedophilia according to you? If it is not the factor of age, if it's not the fact that a 50-year-old man is sexually attracted to a child, then what exactly is bad about pedophilia according to you? Would Daniel Haqiqatjou answer the question, is it wrong to have sexual attraction and sexual interaction with a 6-year-old or a 9-year-old? Can he answer this question? I think
what is pedophilia are the practices of modern pedophiles who go into the closet and diddle little kids. That's abhorrent. That is an abomination. Islam does not promote that. Islam promotes marriage. It promotes family. It promotes these wholesome values, and other societies have practiced this as well.
He said, so I want to ask you, so just to understand this as well. So he's basically saying, if you have, and this is the argument I made, I think we should just finish this one, what I actually said, because it seems like it's going in a different direction. Islam doesn't allow, the Western way, like how there's pedophilia, etc. Yeah, Islam just legalizes pedophilia. Aisha, one could actually argue, she actually didn't even have kids. So maybe she was damaged internally because she was married at the age of 9. This is what happens when you become so dogmatic about it. So he's basically, so as you said, that he's actually going with the definition of psychology that pedophilia is only attraction to prepubescent kids, and he's saying that so he technically he's going with that. So 9-year-old, if she's had a period, then that is not pedophilia. But then he attacks the Western pedophiles. But aren't Western pedophiles doing the same thing? Let's say if a Western pedophile goes after a girl who's already had her period, why is he calling them pedophiles then? By the same logic.
Yeah, and what is bad about it, according to him? I mean, if there is nothing wrong with the sexual interaction and the attachment, what exactly is wrong about it? Please elaborate, Daniel Haqiqatjou.
Unless he's saying, which I think he's definitely saying that unless it's a marriage contract, so it promotes family values. So basically, he's saying you can marry a 9-year-old girl who's had her first period. You can, since you're starting a family with her, that's why it's okay. If you just have sex with her and leave her, basically rape her and leave her, that's not okay. Islam doesn't promote that. Even though with sex slavery, I don't think there's any limit to sex slaves. I don't think there's any age limit with sex slavery. If you remember at the top of my head, I don't remember it. So so what's happened? So there's so many contradictions and the paradoxes within their theology that they just don't seem to get it.
So the problem that Daniel Haqiqatjou then has with pedophilia, with Western pedophilia, as he calls it, which is a very stupid thing to say, is not the sexual interest in children, is not the sexual interactions between an adult and the child. The only problem is that it takes place without marriage. So if there is a marriage happening between them, then it's actually totally fine. So he actually holds sexual interest by adults, by 50-year-olds in little children at the age of 6 or 9 as completely comparable to simply two 16-year-olds having a sexual relationship, probably.
Oh, by the way, what about the Quran 65:4, the verse that actually says you can divorce prepubescent girls?
And his scholars, the scholars that he takes as an example, have said forever that Quran verse is proof that you don't have to wait until a child is pubescent to marry her.
This is the Quran verse we're talking about. So, as for you women past the age of menstruation, in case you don't know, their waiting period is 3 months, and those who have not menstruated as well. So obviously here this verse is telling you about who you can divorce and what's the process for that. So who have not menstruated. So those girls, and I get there are some people who misinterpret or interpret it differently, but as AP said, there are a lot of scholars who actually use that as a justification for divorcing prepubescent girls. And obviously, you can only divorce them if you've married them in the first place. Yeah. So that's the whole point.
If you want proof, it would take too long right now, but I'm pretty sure there's the website Islam Q&A, the Islam QA, which is a very notorious website, giving such fatwas that people like Daniel Haqiqatjou like to follow. I think they have certain articles about this very issue, and they argue that there is no age limit and that you can basically marry any age, from as soon as the child is born. And
but this is the one you're talking about. I know the article you're talking about. So there's a question asked. I have not yet reached the age of puberty. Is it correct that a girl could get married before her menses start, or is that just a tradition? I actually want to know, who is this girl? This is probably a made-up question. So like a 7-year-old girl posting that? Praise be to Allah. Firstly, marriage to a young girl before she reaches puberty is permissible according to Sharia. And it was narrated that these were scholarly consensus. So you can go, and he quoted the same verse, chapter 65, verse 4. So it's not just us saying that who are deliberately misinterpreting. These Muslims, scholars have already acknowledged that. So it's not just post-pubescent girl, which shouldn't even be the criteria, because 9-year-old girl could have a period. But even before that, you can do it.
Yeah. So this is not something that we're just making up. This is, as you have seen, this has precedence in Islamic scholarly work. This is in existence on one of the major fatwa websites of our time. So this is stuff that you actually find there. This disgusting stuff is stuff that you find there. And when we now point out how ridiculous this is, they say we're just being emotional. We're just appealing to the yucky factor, to the icky factor. But dude, that's not what it is. I brought it up in my excerpt as well. It is very well known, and I could bring up random citations about that child marriage has extremely terrible consequences for the child itself, physically, psychologically, sexually. It has terrible consequences for the future of this child, for a possible child that may be born from a pregnancy that was given to a child, because a child is not ready to get pregnant. Although she is able to, she is not physically ready to get pregnant and to properly, to properly feed a fetus and so on. So these people think as soon as a child starts her period, that means, okay, yeah, this is the body's sign that she's now ready for pregnancy. That's not how it works. That's just a development of the body. Just because you have a brain at the age of 4, that doesn't mean you can just go to university or to rule a country when you are at the age of 4. You have to wait until it properly develops to a certain stage.
Yeah. All right. There's quite a lot I think we could go through, but do you remember anything else that we should cover more?
Somebody brought up something earlier that I made a note of, I think. I don't know, there was so much. I still want to make some excerpts of that whole thing.
There are quite a lot. There's actually quite a lot, as I said. I will be putting them up, reducing the background noise, obviously not misrepresenting him, because that doesn't win anyone. Anyway, I've never lied, and this is what I say. Sometimes this is why it's actually a disadvantage, according to these guys, because these guys like Muhammad Hijab, Daniel Haqiqatjou, they lie in the debate, and they're like, ha ha ha, we got him, and it's a total lie. They dodge the questions, and then they run with it. And then only later on, people find out, hang on, you lied about it. When Cosmic Skeptic caught him red-handed about utilitarianism, that he lied about it. It was just, he just remembered it at that point, and that's not even the title of the chapter. And then he said, okay, check it. And they checked it then and there, and it was fine. So these guys can lie on the spot, only to get away with it, but their mindless followers just go like, well, yep, we got it. So that's why it's important to actually put those points up later on. I always believe that we should put those points up later on, and that's what we're doing. So please subscribe to my channel, which is actually showing that underneath.
Absolutely. Please do that. I want to show this part, which somebody brought up earlier.
An apostate prophet says, Daniel, under Sharia, should homosexuals be executed if your own child openly engaged?
Watch the debate that I had with you, A-plus.
Just answer it. Just answer it.
I loved it. I loved bombarding him with these questions. And
he's so angry. He's so angry. His blood pressure is going through
Watch
the roof.
the debate that I had with you, A-plus.
Just say yes.
They said,
Daniel,
all right,
watch the
throw
debate.
them off the rooftop.
Watch the debate. Look, he's asking. So this apostate prophet, I debated him already, and all of his questions we discussed in his debate. So he's just rehashing it. This is ridiculous. What kind of moderation is this?
Because the world wants to see more of that.
Well, I mean, I can't purposely just exclude questions to favor a particular debater. So
why not? This is your channel. Why not?
Because I don't want to favor a particular debater. You're the first person out of 600 debates that's asked for this.
Have you ever had a previous debater come into the chat and try to overtake the Q&A? Have you ever had that situation in your 600 debates?
He's asking questions. If he wants to ask a lot of questions, I don't think that's unfair. Like, I don't think that's
so. Don't tell me that it's unprecedented that I have a problem with it.
Look how angry he is. I enjoyed this so much.
This is crazy.
But he'll answer the question. I wanted to.
Well, it is unprecedented.
It's unprecedented to have a previous debater come and hijack the chat.
It's not unfair for him to want to ask a lot of questions. We read them in the order that they come in.
So
I
my
don't
answer
understand
to
when I try to respond to you, you try to speak over me. I'm just giving you a response. Do you not want people to hear my response because you know it's better than yours? So let's go to the next one.
That was so satisfying.
Yeah. Just put the final nail in the coffin.
Oh boy.
But Daniel, if your own child openly engaged in sexual interactions with the same sex, would you want your child to be executed in your ideal Islamic system?
If my own child, do I want my own children and family to be subject to the Sharia? Yes.
Gotcha. This one coming in from.
So that was the point of the question. Somebody brought it up earlier. So I have to applaud Daniel Haqiqatjou for his consistency here, for not being a hypocrite. The question is, if his own children engaged in homosexual interactions under his ideal Islamic state, would he be okay with also having his own children killed? And he said, indirectly, he said, yeah, sure. So,
he didn't specifically say, and this is what I think you can only interrupt so many times. So this is why I was saying. So you basically throw them off the rooftops, and it's important to have those gestures because so people can visualize what kind of a person he is, or what kind of. Everyone might be. There's a saying that everyone is born innocent when they come out of their mother's womb or something, but so he would have been innocent as well. The only reason he becomes this as terrible human being as he has is because of one thing. That's Islam. Islam is making him defend these kind of things. So what kind of a person would say, if my son is gay, I will throw him off the rooftop? This in other words, this is what he said, yeah. And this is why I gave this analogy in my I don't know, in one of my monologues. I said, even ISIS soldiers, we have these videos, AP, that even ISIS soldiers were crying when they were throwing some homosexuals off the rooftops. They were crying. They were like, brother, so sorry, but they have to throw. So, and here he is with a straight face saying, yeah, if it's homosexual, I'll throw him off the rooftop. How many? Some people say he's got a few boys, no daughter, I think. But just imagine if one of the child turns out to be gay, which is purely natural. Nobody can do anything about it. And he would want him dead, and not just dead, but thrown off a rooftop. That's what he would believe in. So, by the way, this is also a fringe view, throwing off rooftop in Islamic jurisprudence as well, yeah? But he's so hardline, he's so far radicalized that he actually believes in that version, that no, it's not just death, throw them off the rooftop. But I guess any type of death would be rude, terrible anyway.
He earlier made us. He was live earlier. I don't know if he's still live, but he basically said that his whole dispute with me was initiated by me, which is why he, started calling me names and attacking me and this and that. And he brought up how I basically, made fun of him. I made a video about him and all that. How it actually started was that he made a post on Twitter in which he posted a picture of some extreme sports, some bungee jumping or something, where he said, that he said something along the lines of, I forgot that it is, the LGBT Pride Month or something like that.
Oh,
so
wow.
Here is, let us celebrate it with extreme sports or something like that. So he was he was making fun of, throwing gay people off the roof by posting such a sarcastic post. And I just responded to him on Twitter by just saying, you are a piece of shit or something like that. And then he made a response to me in which he said, don't worry, apostate. We also have, specific kinds of celebration for you. So he was then talking about executing apostates. I then made a video making fun of that, and then he invited himself onto my channel. So that is what actually happened. He jokes about killing people, including homosexuals and apostates. I then invite him, and then he thinks I just started attacking him and all that. So he has his ways of at the same time playing the victim while also brutally attacking the other side, and with very terrible things.
Which is why I was a little bit surprised that his fans were like saying, "Oh, Harris was bullying him, insulting him, making jokes or whatever." It's like, man, you do that. The whole build up of that, I actually get it now. This is where he probably got it wrong. He probably got this massively wrong. He thought that he's going to rile me up, and I'll be frothing, and I'll be losing it, and I'll be like. He just didn't know much about me. Like, this is just how I conduct myself. This is how I normally talk. Like, I crack a few jokes, throw a little funny jibe here or there, just a little bit of an insult, just funny one, nothing too harmful, but just throw one in. But at the same time, keep my head above my shoulders. So, and that's what I was doing. But when the debate came, I noticed all his chat, the pre-debate chat, just turned in. It was all gone. He was so boring to talk to. He's actually very boring. I mean, I wouldn't want to be in a room with him having a conversation because he's so bland. Did you see his socially awkward joke about we are men? Yeah, we make babies.
Yeah,
I was like,
that's very embarrassing. Daniel, you shouldn't do that.
I was like, bro, don't make the. He actually tried to be funny once as well. Someone sent me a clip because a lot of people were sending me clips just to tell me what kind of. Because I never watched him. I never found him impressive. I saw his one conversation on secular jihadists, but he once he was asking this guy, "Oh, do you even lift, bro?" He tried to make that joke, like, "Do you even lift?" Not to me, to some person on his channel. And it's like, man, this is such a cool joke, but it just doesn't work when it comes out of your mouth because it's so socially awkward. And that's what okay. With that blame solely can't go to Islam because he that's just him.
Yeah. Well, I want to show this thing just to bring that out again. We are never exaggerating here. I promise that to you. Daniel Haqiqatjou. Let's see. Where's that video? I cannot find the screenshot that I actually took from him making those jokes on Twitter, but I will quickly bring it up here. Have it ready so everybody can see that once more and see what kind of a person we're dealing with. Oh yeah, it's right here. So here he said the following. Where's that? Here. Here he said, Daniel Haqiqatjou on Twitter, May 19th, 2020, he said, "Oh man, I missed the International Day Against Homophobia. The best way to celebrate such a beautiful, momentous, important day is the Muslim way, recreational base jumping."
Yeah, recreational base jumping. And he makes a joke. He's basically saying that, you know, throw them off rooftops. So some Muslim brother here who was his cheerleader saying, "Oh, no, Islam doesn't allow throwing homosexuals at roof." This is what I'm saying. The guy you want to follow, at least know what he believes in.
Mm-hmm.
This is what he believes in. So why you? So are you? You know, I actually wanted to ask you this question. What do you think that these people who these Muslims who are all cheerleading? You actually mentioned that in your Twitter or something. I've been contacted by 3 people also that, "Oh, look, Haris, this is not true Islam. You know, if you want to have a chat, this is not the right way. Blood, why do you engage these people? Blah, blah." This. I say, why don't you say it publicly? I said, don't tell me that again. Same thing that you told me. I said, why don't you say that publicly?
Yeah.
Publicly, all you guys are putting this brave front on that everyone is behind Haqiqatjou. But when we tackle you guys individually, you say, no, Islam doesn't allow wife beating. No, slavery was periodical. It doesn't apply today. Then why are you and your followers going for him?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, why do you think that is? Is it because, as I said in my opening statement, I said they have to say this, whether they agree with him or not. They have to say that we, Haqiqatjou won, Haqiqatjou did this or that, so they can keep their faith intact. Do you think it's just that, or they just genuinely hate so much that no matter what he does, even you know, like even if he passes his wind or something, they're gonna say, "Wow, what a beautiful fragrance." What do you think? What is your opinion? Why do so many people just, and you know, there's so many fake people, and it's like they try to say that, "Oh, you know, you lost," which I don't care. You know, like, again, I'm saying that again. If you think I lost, please let me beat me again. I wanna be beaten again. What do you think? What's your opinion on that?
I mean, his audience, people like him, people who follow people like him, don't care really about facts. They don't care about who made a better point. They don't care about, you know, what is good for you, what is bad for you. What they care about is reaffirming their beliefs and their you know, extreme views on society, their hate against the disbelievers in the world and all that. Anything could be done, anything could be said, no matter how the debate goes, no matter how superior you seem, no matter if he presents facts or fiction, the people that are on his side will make sure that everybody knows that he won. They did the same thing. I mean, they watched the stream on his channel, right?
Yeah,
they
yeah.
mostly were on his channel. After the stream was over, they immediately moved over to modern day debate, you know, where the actual stream took place, and they started spamming the comment section full of the same stuff that they wrote on Daniel Haqiqatjou's page.
My channel.
And then they came to your channel and also started spamming your channel entirely. On top of that, not only did they spam, did they engage in opinion manipulation that way, they also created fake accounts that looked like me and looked like supporters of you, in which they say stuff like, "Wow, I'm really embarrassed. Wow, you really won."
Yeah.
And if you check the profile, you see the comment history, and you see that they are clearly Muslims, you know. And they created fake posts everywhere. I mean, these are people who are not, they don't care about truth. They don't care about,
Exactly.
you know, who is making more sense. They don't care about learning more. What they care about is, from the very beginning, before the debate even starts, about humiliating, destroying, killing the opponent. And that's what they are on about.
Look at this. So look at the likes and dislikes, 28,000 views. Like, when the stream ended, it was fine. But then afterwards, that's what happened. There was this attack by all these, you know, the most of them are Muslims, and just attack. So they flooded, they bombarded. Someone told me that, what's that guy's name? Fareed, not Zakaria, sorry, the Fareed Responds or something. Someone was telling me that he actually said that go to his channel, which some people, actually not just more than one people told me that. And then he apparently responded. He said he didn't say anything. So I actually don't know. I haven't been able to confirm it. But these guys must have come from somewhere. But they need that reconfirmation somehow that they need, like our faith is restored, whether they agree with him or not. This is the same thing. Like his Pikachu fanboy here was saying that, oh no, you're not supposed to be throwing homosexuals at rooftops. So why are you supporting him? Because he does believe in that. He does believe in that.
I don't understand. What are you guys defending? I mean, you guys who come here and to say, yes, Daniel Haqiqatjou won, our brother smashed you, humiliated. You say these things. What exactly did he win about? If you don't even know what your guy believes in, what he openly argued for, then what exactly did he win?
I would go back to it, and also those people, like people who in between, who genuinely want to understand that, who genuinely want to learn. And this was just like this is my third or fourth debate with someone, but actually properly I think it's probably second or third debate. But I've always enjoyed conversations, and the reason for that is because I really want to get to the bottom of it. Like, I mean, one particular point you can go back and forward, have a normal conversation. And you go, oh, okay, all right, and that's what you want. But he doesn't want it. These guys don't want it. They want to go with the certain point and quickly, just get away with it or go into it. They're about scoring points. They're not about having a meaningful conversation. And that's why I think it's just it's such a shame. I spoke with Uthman Badr, the guy. I think you spoke with him as well. That was more of a conversation. There was no moderator involved in that. And look where we got somewhere. He ended up acknowledging evolution. Again, it was just like a respectful dialogue between the two of us, and there was no moderator. We spoke for like 2.5 hours or something. Fine. Why do you need that? So it's such a shame that these people just, there's no education element of that. There's no learning element or making, just at least understand my argument and then debunk it. You don't even understand my argument. Well, forget about understanding my argument. You don't even understand your own guy's argument.
Yeah. Well, let me put something on the screen here quickly, just because I found it so funny, and this is where he starts escalating, I think.
Apostate Prophet says, for Daniel, if he wants to force Islam, execute apostates and enslave disbelievers, would it be okay to do the same to Muslims and Muslim converts? If not, why not? Please answer the question.
Would it be no? Why would I want people to be the people who stand for truth and justice and righteousness to be enslaved? Why? Like, just because you accept that warfare is necessary and slavery is necessary doesn't mean that you yourself are fine with being defeated in war. Again, I can ask anyone that question. Like, do you think war is necessary? And then you say, yes, war is necessary. Okay, so you're fine with being defeated in war. You're fine with being blown up.
That's not the point, idiot. The point is not, are you okay with that being? The point is not, do you want that to be done to you? The point is, would it be okay as a method? You idiot.
Because every side believes he's right. Crusaders, Christians believe they were right. Muslims believe they were on the right. So
I mean, I really don't want to be insulting. I really don't want to say this, but this guy has been so arrogant, has been so aggressive, has been so hostile, dehumanizing, and all that. And then he sits here and says this. I mean, you absolute idiot. The point here is not, do you want your own people to be enslaved? The point here is that okay as a method if it were done to your own people? It's not about whether you want it to be done to your own people. The comparison to being defeated also doesn't make sense. You believe it is okay to wage war and to win. You believe that it's okay to be defeated, or for the other side who loses. So do you also believe that a method like enslaving the other side is okay when it is done to Muslims as a result of a war? You dumbass. But let's go on.
What's the logic of that? It doesn't make sense. Yes, sometimes war is necessary. I explained how sometimes slavery is necessary, sex slavery is necessary. Do I want that to happen to me? No, I don't want to die in a war. I don't want to be enslaved, obviously, but that's not some kind of hypocrisy. Like Apus, here, I'll talk about Apus. Like, he is just a con man. He has to lie, just like Harris, to his Hindutva audience, his Christian loser audience, who are not able to actually think for themselves. They just follow this
conspiracy theory.
Isn't this so ironic that he says that we have audiences that can't think for themselves, that just follow people?
it's again, and this is how little he knows that I actually one of the reasons and why I didn't grow, because I do my streams in Urdu as well, and a lot of Indians listen to me, and I only try to reach out to the secular minded Indians, so much so, and you're probably a little bit familiar with that. We don't want to go touch that bee's nest, but when you made one of the videos, so I have been absorbing that attack from the Hindutva that he mentioned for over 2 years now, and it was really turned up in the last 6 months or so, because I am a secular-minded human rights person who doesn't discriminate between Muslims or Hindus or Christians. Wherever the human rights are being attacked, I would defend them. I spend a lot of time defending human rights of Muslims in India. So as a result, the Hindutva attacks me. I even showed one of the analytics, one of the graphics, where it actually showed how I made a couple of videos. I put an attack on Hindutva people, not Indians, Hindutva, and I lost, like, my subscriber count went down like that. I've been picking fights unnecessarily. If I was a con man, as he claims, but he doesn't know that. These guys are just either dishonest or ignorant. Either way, you shouldn't be following them.
And it's completely irrelevant to the whole point. He's just now getting angry and trying to bring up irrelevant insults here.
All of these points have been addressed. All of these points have been addressed in our debate I had with Apus, but he's such a crybaby loser that he has to hijack this debate. And Harris is such a cuck that he allows Apus to hijack his stage and his spotlight. Doesn't that make you feel like a loser, Harris? Doesn't that make you feel like
driving the wedge in
that your big daddy Apus,
your rhetorical skills are good.
Your big daddy Apus is taking your spotlight. Are you second fiddle to Apus, Harris?
Daniel,
answer that question. Because you're not getting any questions from the audience. No one cares about.
Exactly.
We must go.
Because my position is so sensible. People are like, whatever he says.
If you ask Harris a question, you got to give him a chance to respond.
Are you a schoolboy cuck? I'm wondering.
Okay.
What was my response? I want to hear my response. I forgot.
Look, whatever kind of offense you're imagining, I can go into that. No, hang on, I'm going to respond to that. Whatever is going through your mind and your manly man brain, that's fine with me. But my strategy was always to let you speak more. You defending slavery, sex slavery. We didn't even touch torture, because you would defend torture as well. Wife beating, you've defended that. I don't have to say anything. Let the world see for itself, because right now your own fellow Muslims, they're actually like this. They're like, oh, geez, he did not say that, but you did say that. So this is why that's perfectly fine. You know why people are not asking me any questions? Because my positions are very sensible. They're very rational. They're like, okay, that's fine. Your case, it's not so much.
You're just defending what everyone already has been indoctrinated with. So
indoctrinated. Imagine the words
the irony here. You have been indoctrinated.
I mean, we are indoctrinated with be compassionate. I mean, even if it's indoctrination, that's a very good indoctrination to have, because I would want someone to be compassionate towards me, even in war. I would want, if I'm fighting a war and I'm killed, I would not want them to treat the women or children that I love and care about, to treat them as animals or slaves or sex slaves. Haqiqatjou's worldview is like, you don't want to know. You don't. You would literally. This is again another analogy from similarity between Stalin and Muhammad, and this is his ideology, whose ideology he follows. When German women were being raped, there were so many women who were actually cutting up their faces. Some even killed themselves because they did not want to be raped by the Red Army soldiers. And his worldview is so barbaric that's what he would push women towards. So, but he defends it. If he could just say, I would have had respect, and which again, I was totally blindsided. I actually thought that he was saying slavery is not justifiable in this day and age. But thank you, you picked it up. I didn't pick it up. I actually thought that he actually threw some dust in my eyes.
It's very funny. He's like he is talking about, and he did talk about before the debate about how you Murtad ex-Muslim will get emotional and start crying and this and that. And here on this footage, we very clearly see that you are just completely calm and cheerful, and he's just so losing it. He's having a meltdown, attacking you, attacking the moderator, and trying to argue with him and speaking over him, calling you a cuck because apparently I'm stealing your show and I'm your daddy. That's the kind of stuff that he cares about. Calling you a schoolboy cuck, stuff that these edgy 12-year-olds on the internet say. I mean, this is the stuff that he cares about. Here you see his sentiments. He doesn't care about truth. What he cares about is to just assert how manly he is and how strong he is, and he will leave a name, he will be strong, and he will humiliate and this and that. And you are just not as strong, and you're not humiliating him. You're not being a very strong man, and that's what matters to him.
But it's funny up until that point. I mean, he hadn't thrown any funny insult at me, up until that point. But it's so funny. I think must have been playing at the back of his mind, because like as I said, my jokes were harmless. Like I didn't mean anything. They were just like in the spur of the moment. They were just funny, just to lighten the mood.
Yeah. Are you a cuck?
Bringing arguments, bringing evidence,
like 7th century old,
citing Ackerman,
1400-year-old, 1400-year-old ideas are new ideas.
We've got so many questions. I hate to do this. The Super Destroyer says, Scott, go.
Did he say April?
Someone made a super chat talking to me. It's so funny how the super chat suddenly is addressed at me. Yeah, and then I know there was this one part where he pulled out a Pikachu that his wife just brought him. Where when he brought out that Pikachu and said, "Would have this?" And yeah, whatever. So it was a bunch of.
That was again. Was that his? Like I was again lost a little bit at that. I was like, "Are you trying to be cool or something?" It's so socially awkward. I was like, "Mate, that belongs to your kids. What are you trying to say? That doesn't make you look cool or non-sadistic or unsadistic. It doesn't make you look anything like that. You're still a crazy MF."
Yeah. He was trying to make the point that he's actually a very compassionate guy who even has a Pikachu at home.
Something that rhymes with his name.
Yeah.
Haqiqat means reality, and Haqiqatjou, I think he's a Jew.
It's Haqiqatjou is like truth something.
True G. No, Haqiqat means reality. So he's a reality. In reality, he's a Jew. That's what it means. Haqiqatjou.
An insane person, and I still put my faith in humanity. And I know even most Muslims, because I've seen that. I've seen my Pakistani society.
Would a sadist have this?
Do it. Well, that's your kids. That belongs to your kids.
Pikachu. Don't you want to call me Pikachu again?
No, I don't want.
This is Pikachu.
A lot of people have told you that.
Would a sadist have Pikachu right here? Pikachu endorses me.
We must go.
Pikachu, do you want Sharia? Yes, I want Sharia.
Apostate prophet says
you will be thrown off the rooftop.
All right, we'll talk to Pikachu later.
Yes,
Is
Harris a con man? Yes, he is.
Does Daniel believe that execute?
Yeah. So anyway, there are some funny moments at the end. I think at that point.
Yeah. Tough guy Pikachu. Yeah.
Anyway, I reckon so, guys. Please, as I said, I know I'm saying it again and again. Please subscribe to my channel. Just search Harris Sultan, you'll find it. There are a lot of clips that are going to be coming up. That's going to be very interesting. The plan was always to get him to say these things, as it is quite evident. People who are going for him even now don't know what he stands for. He posted the slavery question, his belief on slavery so craftily that even I fell for it. I thought that he is no longer in favor of the slavery as we knew it. But no, he actually changed his words in a way that he is people who, so he doesn't get in trouble with his real fan base who know slavery can't be condemned. He didn't even condemn it, but he actually kind of posed it like, slavery has been abolished by the modern weaponry, not because of the circumstances, not because of the changing morality, and it should no longer be applied in this day and age. He didn't say that, but I fell for it. So how could this surface level Haqiqatjou fanboys wouldn't fall for it? So I'm actually interested to see how other honest Islamic scholars respond to that, or are they gonna sing to the choir as well? And they're just gonna say, well, yeah, Haqiqatjou won. The benchmark would always be this: are you convinced by his arguments or not? If you're not convinced by his argument, i.e., women should be beaten up, wives can be beaten up, 9-year-olds can be married to, and torture is fine, sex slavery is fine. If you're not convinced by his arguments, then he lost. Then you're on my side, because I am saying the same thing. Then you're on my side. You are already on my side. So why are you going for it? That would always be the benchmark. So just remember that.
Yeah. I've just noticed that I completely forgot to read the super chats. I know you have to go; it's very late. I will not make a question and answer session, but I will want to read them all.
I'm here with you.
So we can go through them, just so we don't have to miss them. But before that, I want to actually make two challenges before this gets lost. I want to make two challenges. One of them is to Daniel Haqiqatjou, and one of them is to Muslim apologists, including people like Farid and all that. But the first challenge is, I made this challenge before to Daniel Haqiqatjou. Daniel, you say that you have debated me. We have not debated. Otherwise, I would have actually done a debate with a system, with a moderator, with opening speeches, time limits, and this and that. If you truly think that you and I would have a debate and that you would be, proving such great stuff to the world, I am willing to accept to have a debate with you. Although I don't like to have a debate on the topic, Sharia law, because I think it's a very useless debate to have for me personally. I would prefer having a debate on, is Islam true, or let's turn it around. I will argue Islam is false. Is Islam false? I'm ready and willing to have that debate with you immediately. If you think that you are too weak to argue theology and knowledge, I understand that. You are not very smart in that regard. I would also challenge you to have a debate with me on Sharia law and on pragmatism, human civilization, pragmatism, human rights, whatever you want to call it. You are against these things anyway, openly, so what does it matter? So, the other challenge is I want to challenge Muslim apologists like Farid, Sheikh Uthman, I don't know, Hamza, all these people out there who all sure know about the debate that happened yesterday, or was it 2 days ago? Who sure know about this debate. I want to ask them to comment on this, and I ask them if they agree with Daniel Haqiqatjou that child marriage is healthy and wholesome and good, if sex slavery is morally necessary and acceptable, if slavery is completely justifiable in the present and the future, if wife beating is entirely good, it's a beautiful practice, if marital rape is a beautiful practice, if we should execute homosexuals as Daniel Haqiqatjou proposes, if we should execute apostates, and so on. Dear Muslim apologists, please don't hide in this case. We have all seen what has been said. We will all keep exposing these things. Please share your opinion with us. I'm sure all the Muslim followers who look up to you will be awaiting your opinions on all this. Those are my two challenges. I hope it's quite clear. If you don't want to say anything else, I will quickly go through the super chats, and then we will have to quit.
No, I think I had something I forgot, but anyway, I think you should start with the super chats.
It's fine. It's fine. I think this was a very good stream on.
Yeah, it was.
In many regards. Okay, so I said I will not be able to respond to all the questions. We have very limited time, but I will go through all of them because I don't want to disrespect all the people who have made super chats. I'm very sorry, I completely forgot. But Myth Vision Podcast said, I'm here to laugh. Thank you, Myth Vision. Everyone subscribe to Myth Vision Podcast, by the way. It's amazing. He's doing great work. Recently began tackling the whole Islam issue. Abdullah Samir is here. Hello, Abdullah Samir. Nice to see you here. Said, Daniel wants to show Islam is superior, not make people like it. I agree. Stop Scamming Man said, while I agree that in the West far too many are isolated, dying alone and family can be undervalued, I would literally wish no one had kids if they were in any danger of one day burning in hell forever. I don't want to add anything to that opinion. Iskender Ibn Yaqub al-Corona something said, "May peace be upon us. Keep it going. Cheers from the Netherlands." Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Abdullah Samir said, "Daniel's arguments give incel vibes. Islam appeals to incels and insecure men."
Can I comment on that?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Very quickly, because it actually does make a lot of sense. Like, if you see all these guys who actually propagate Islam to this extreme core, they're socially awkward. Look at all these guys; they've got some sort of an issue, and I'll tell you how Islam actually, or these so-called their version of family values, how it actually supports them, is because in the West, we have these socially awkward guys as well, but they don't have arranged marriages. So they end up becoming incels. And now we're seeing this new phenomena of incel violence. So in these, and there's a very common funny joke, all the people from India and Pakistan would know that. They say, well, if you're socially awkward, you don't look so good, you don't have a good job, doesn't matter. There will always be a cousin available for you. so they will hook you up with a cousin. Regardless of your standing. Whereas in the Western world, in the free world, a guy has to go and, like there's a natural pecking order. Like the most successful guy will end up getting the most prettiest girl or whatever. So that it works on that way. But in this case, and people who miss out, it's not. So yeah, Islam does appeal to, in its extreme form, it appeals to incels as well. So yeah, that perfectly sense.
All right. I also think there's a lot of hate for the world involved in this case, and for supposed perceived cosmic injustice that people like Daniel Haqiqatjou want to solve in very terrible ways by inflicting violence upon the world. But yeah, Leptoceratops said, Daniel Haqiqatjou is a stereotypical Reddit neckbeard who loves tendies. Thank you so much. Arif Hussein Teruvat said, "Good to see you together. Great going." Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Zagros Özkan, we read that earlier. I think DH is super smart and good acting atheist disguised as a Muslim to expose how awful Islam truly is, or he's just the dumbest Muslim there is who totally missed the point of doing taqiyya. To Be Free made a super sticker. I actually want to say something. I wanted to make a brief video earlier. Harris, I'm sure you have heard of the whole sentiment when you were a Muslim. I'm sure you're familiar with it, this whole Muslim conspiracy theory idea that some radical Muslims are just, paid agents to make Islam look bad. I never believed in that stuff when I was a Muslim myself, but with everything that Daniel Haqiqatjou has done during this debate and with everything that came forth from that, I feel like, dude, I mean, it looks realistic. Maybe Daniel Haqiqatjou is actually a paid agent by some secret agencies to make Islam look bad.
But AP, this is so similar. Yeah, I've heard of this. But this sentiment is so similar in every culture, because I know Indian culture very well as well now because of my channel and how I talk. There was this woman who came to my channel and she said, like, because I post some Hindutva violent videos as well, and I could comment on that. So there was this woman, she came on my channel and she said, "Haris, how do you know this extreme radical Hindutva are not actually Pakistan's ISI agents?" Yeah. So I was like, so are you saying that these videos in Mumbai are being filmed by actors, produced by Pakistan? She was like, yeah, it could be possible. So, which is the same kind of sentiment. Yes, so the same sentiment that radical Muslims, these so-called radical Muslims, fundamentalists, are out there to bring Islam into disrepute. But which is no, I mean, you have to understand, because they're not willing to agree, they're not willing to understand that Islam is such a bad ideology that anyone can twist and turn it. It's like it's like a nose of wax. You could just turn it any which way you want.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Stop Scamming Man said, apologists poorly portray historical life expectancy in relation to child marriage. Life expectancy was higher if you discount those that died under 5. For example, James I. Kidd's life expectancy 19, life expectancy discounting under 5's death 43. I think Aisha herself lived quite a long life, didn't she?
She lived up to 80, but I think its infant mortality was bringing it down. Usually, it's the infant mortality is like a lot of kids would actually die. One in 3 or 4 would die. So no 1 in 3 or 4. Like I think 1 would reach the adulthood 1 in 5 or something like that. So that's why a lot of them used to have a lot of kids. So this whole fertility argument, why people had this tendency to make more babies was because of that. It's like all the other animals, they produce lots of babies, as many as they can every year. Mating season, they just make it because they don't reach the adult life.
All right, let's move on. I have to go. I have very limited time. Zagros Özkan said, "Oh, you divine and all-knowing apostate prophet, here's my jizya. Please don't kill me." Thank you. I appreciate it. Yunus Lasfar made a super chat, didn't say anything. Nirdar Pednikar said, "Pikachu is my favorite Pokemon. Please don't call him that. That's a disrespect of Pikachu." Yuri Guderian said, "Thank you. Since the Quran asserts that it is the last revelation, its unchanging misogynistic edicts are forever tethered to antiquity. Rationality rules." Oh, he said that? He did say that? That's very nice. iPixel Kitty said, "Thank you so much. She's too young, Muhammad, when Omar and Abu Bakr wanted to marry his daughter Fatima, who was 9 at the time." Did he say that?
I can't remember.
I remember him saying, making a remark about, I think about when Ali wanted to marry another woman, or I think he made a remark about how he doesn't want his daughter to be a co-wife or something like that.
Oh yeah. We actually spoke about this today. That was the incident. So he actually, Abu Bakr and Umar both wanted to marry Fatima, and Muhammad said no. She has to marry someone closer to her age. Then he married Ali because he was the same age. So and there's another incident. Muhammad is such a hypocrite that when Ali wanted the second wife, have you heard of this one? When he wanted the second wife.
That's what I was referring to.
Yeah, Muhammad said, "No, that would hurt Fatima, and anyone who hurts Fatima hurts me." Like, see how emotional blackmailing. I mean, it has. And then on the other hand, he's telling people that even if my daughter had committed theft, then I would have chopped her hands off. That's bullshit. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Hindu Historian made a super chat and said, "First rule of science, correlation does not equal causation." Yeah, I think that was in reference to something that how Daniel Haqiqatjou plays with statistics. Someone even in the super chat during the debate brought it up and said, "Hey, how do your statistics actually relate to your argument?" And he tried to make the connection, but he does actually do that. He, as soon as two numbers seem to go together, he tries to connect them and tries to treat them as cause and effect. But that's one of the major fallacies that he constantly commits during his speeches, and I really want to address that at some point. Chorleif Murray says, "I live in the Mecca of Mormonism, Utah, and this sadly reminds me of Joseph Smith. Stay away from Mormonism, stay away from Islam." I very much agree to a certain extent. Stop Scamming Man said, "Daniel H. Pikachu is shocking." Ruben is my name said, "If Daniel H. agrees to keep punishments within the family, I wonder if he would be okay with the wife beating the husband for example, cheating." Yeah, that's a whole issue that we should get into sometime. Maxon H. Din said, "Harris Pikachu is better than you. He knows how to sell shit as pudding." Yeah, so there you got it. Daryl Duckworth said, "Thank you so much. I appreciate it." Urian Guderian said, "When Islam gets you down, you just got to listen to some Michael Jackson." Thank you so much. I appreciate it. iPixel Kitty said, "Imagine if one of the women was his sister." What's that in reference to?
It might have been reference to sex slavery we were talking about.
Oh boy, yeah. Where Daniel Haqiqatjou completely got
probably coitus interruptus.
Maybe both at the same time. I don't know. Bruce Wayne said, "So what happens to the predestined soul if you actually pull out? How does the soul exist in a body if you never impregnate them?" Well, if you did do that, it would technically not be predestined. But yeah. Magnus Holmgren said, "Thank you so much. Muslims never admit that Islam causes conflict and hardship, it seems. They always blame past European colonialism and current American imperialism." You know what's so funny? How he argues that this Islamic patriarchal system makes for a strong, wealthy, amazing society. But then in the next moment, when you talk about how horrible the Muslim countries are, he will say, "Well, it's all because of the West. The advanced, strong West is keeping the Muslim countries, weak and oppressed." oppressed and this and that. I mean, dude, agree on something. How do you, does Islam make you strong or not? You know, why are you complaining about being oppressed the entire time? Reason on Faith said most moderate Muslims will dismiss Daniel's defense of wife beating, the fertility argument, child marriage, etc. What needs discussion next is the points on preserving family, society, etc. Thank you so much, Reason on Faith. James is tired said, great questions, AP. Thank you for asking them. Thank you so much. iPixel Kitty said he only rediscovered Islam because his sister got sexually assaulted and murdered by a Westerner, and he blamed it on their Western lifestyle. What if his sister was being taken as a sex slave by a Muslim? Okay, yeah, I don't want to go personally into that whole matter. I guess some people kind of learned meanwhile that Haqiqatjou went through some family trauma in his past, which also kind of explains the problems that he has currently with the justice system in the world. But I don't want to get into that at the moment.
Yeah, you know, there's no point in getting into it. But again, the whole point of us giving out hypotheticals when we talk about that, and you can replace that with my sister. Like I've always said it. So let's not go there, because, like, how would I feel if my sister was raped or murdered, or if my sister was taken as a sex slave by someone? Obviously, you know, like this is the utter humiliation for a man for not to be able to protect his loved ones. That's just natural. But there's an ideology, and this is why we have human rights that he hates so much. Human rights ensure that those kind of things don't happen. They still happen, but at least they're not legitimized. Islam legitimizes it, and this guy endorses it. That's just this is why I brought it up. I said, how would you feel if my soldiers come to me and tell me, General Sultan, we've got this Abdul's wife and his sister or whatever, should we put it in or pull it out? That's just, some people might say, like, oh, you're being so crude, Harris, but it is important to visualize it. These guys are literally saying it.
Yeah, there is a thing, I mean, in psychology, the whole issue of resentment. If you experience some very traumatic thing in life, some great injustice to yourself or to loved ones, and you first try to bring justice to it by appealing to, you know, authorities, to the people in charge, to the rules. You hope that the situation will get solved, but it doesn't get solved. You appeal again, it doesn't get solved. You appeal again, it gets even worse. You start getting bad reactions. As a result, this whole issue, this failure of the justice system, this failure to receive justice for some great injustice that has happened in your family or to yourself or to your loved ones, makes you severely disappointed in the justice system and in the justice of the world, makes you resentful, makes you traumatic, which can easily evolve into hate, you know, against humanity, against the world. I just lost Harris. I don't know why. But yeah, that's what happens. Oh, you're back. Here, Harris, you just dropped. Did you just kick yourself up by mistake? I don't know. Rearx9 made a super chat and didn't say anything. Siraj, but thank you so much. I appreciate it. Siraj Kamal made a super chat, said, Apostate Prophet, I support your work. I am one of the founders of ex-Muslim movement. You're doing great work, Harris and AP. Thank you so much. I guess Forerunner, so one of the people who were around forever. I don't know, but I appreciate it. Very nice. Thank you. Now Devoted said, good debate, Harris Sultan. I have not finished it yet. Abdul Alam said, if Islam is really like what Daniel said, then I would not think twice denouncing Islam. I would definitely research. AP, I have become your fan after this. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And yeah, I think the whole debate with Daniel Haqiqatjou has said the strength in this debate is that people who did not know before about what Islam is will be exposed to how terrible Islam is and will think about this once more. Those who are within Islam who don't like this terrible aspect of Islam will be exposed to it once more and will think about leaving Islam. Those who are accepting of very terrible elements within Islam, the kind of stuff that Daniel Haqiqatjou defends, they will have their faith in terrible things reaffirmed, but that's just part of the deal. And I just hope that this has helped everyone see more and more what kind of disgusting ideology we are dealing with. This has helped more people understand that people like Harris and I are not lying about Islam. We are merely presenting the truth. And I'm really glad that Daniel Haqiqatjou has done our job for us and has become a better representative of exposing Islam than I have been. And I really appreciate that. Harris, is there anything else you want to add?
No, not on that. I don't have as many super chats as you do, so I would quickly want to go through them. There's not that many.
Sure, yeah.
Let me go through it. Yes, I'm not as popular as you, so very quickly. AMP said, likely that Pikachu's a concubine. I don't know what's the reference to. Daniel's been crying on his life for nearly 6 hours straight, and he's still going. Have mercy, Sultan.
Really?
I actually didn't know that. Right? 6. Yeah, I know that he had his stream on, but I don't know. He's still going. So, Denver Johnson saying, I wouldn't be surprised if Daniel is on FBI's radar. Why do you think? Why are these guys not? They might have a radar, but they can't actually do anything. You live in America, so I mean, if someone. I would be. Isn't there like I know that people should be. I've seen that in the news a lot. Like people who's watching child pornography or something, so just something like that. They get raided by the police and all of that, and then they get caught out. But here, I know it's not similar in a sense that you're not literally watching it, but you're talking about it in a sense you're justifying it. So it might not get picked up by the system, but individuals looking at it. Why doesn't it get problematic? Because Ali Dava said, "Oh, I would marry my 9-year-old girl to a 50-year-old man." He said it. We've got the clip. I put it up. How come the authorities don't actually?
Well, you have the UK, which is a joke. I'm sorry, where Ali Dawa is and where Mohammed Hijab are. Double standards. I don't even want to say more about that stuff. But I think when it comes to Daniel Haqiqatjou, I am pretty sure, as far as I know, how the FBI works. There are some authorities, watching Daniel Haqiqatjou already. The issue is that. I mean, it's the rule of law. He has not really necessarily done something that is, punishable under the U.S. law, but they would be waiting for people like him to say something that has immediate consequences that lead to something criminal and harmful, or they would wait for him to say something that really, speaks intention, that really presents intentions of committing a crime, and. I don't know.
Well, they think this debate was about winning or losing. The more that Westerners learn about Islam, the faster it will crumble by exposing itself. Yes, and not only just Westerners, but also moderate Muslims as well. And I've got some people now commenting, some Muslim scholars have actually come out a little bit in my support in a way, not necessarily in my support, but against Daniel Haqiqatjou. I'll just quickly share that with you after a moment as well. Denver Johnson said, do you know that Daniel went to South Africa and got completely slaughtered by Asadullah Ali and Delusi for his factual errors and lack of knowledge? I actually don't know about this. In South Africa? Why did he go to South Africa? What is Asadullah and Delusi doing over there? I actually have no idea what this is. Mr. Harris, do you plan to live in Botswana? Don Singer is asking. I actually did answer that. Why would I go to Botswana if there's no economic progress? That was such a stupid argument. Did you actually understand that? What was he actually trying to say? He was saying that Botswana has the same human... First of all, Botswana doesn't even have the same human rights as, let's say, Australia, for example. I'm sure it's a third world country. There are a lot of corrupt police. It's not the same. But even let's just say if it had the same human rights standards as Australia does, then why would I go to a country where there's so much, whose GDP is touching my shoes? Why would I do that? So obviously, it's not just about human rights. What was the argument there? Did you get that?
He was completely strawmanning you. He actually kind of spoke in your name and said that you are blaming all the problems that these countries have on Islam, which you never did.
I never did.
That was his premise. He said that you are blaming all the problems on Islam, but Botswana has all these human rights and secularism and this and that, but they're doing very poorly. So why don't you go to Botswana? Why don't you go? He's so dumb.
That's so stupid. I am a strong modernist in a sense, not postmodernist. I'm a strong modernist. I shit on even cultures. I even said that primitive cultures need to be eradicated, which you try to twist my word and said, oh, primitive people. I said, no, I didn't say primitive people. I said primitive cultures. But by that, what I meant, then bring them out into the 21st century. I understand that. Living in Australia, I understand Aboriginals, and I know their suffering, and I know how difficult it is to pull people of certain culture out into our modern way of life. I know it's not that easy, but ideally that would be better. The people not living in jungles and people not dying of hepatitis or cleaning dirty water. It would be better if they can enjoy the same houses as we do. So that was my point. Anyway, let's just quickly get through with this one.
Let me quickly say, we say to him, hey, if the West is so evil, if it's so immoral, if it's so bad, so filthy, why don't you go and move to a Muslim country? There are so many of them. You don't have to move to the ideal Muslim country. You can just move to any of them. I'm sure there are many available. There are many Muslim countries available that are much closer to Islam than America is, and that have not been bombed or anything within the last 100 years. It's very obvious. Your response to that should not be something as stupid as, then why don't you move to Botswana? They also have secularism.
Yeah, but in his case, that's a perfectly rational explanation because he longs to live in a Muslim country. I don't long to live in a third world country. Anyway.
Exactly.
Denver Johnson, I'm glad that Daniel Haqiqatjou admitted his mindset. Most apologists dodge and play between the lines. At least he's clear about his stance. Props to him. I actually said that he's not actually as clear as he claims to be. Mr. Monster says he misunderstood what human rights really is. He kept giving his vision of what a future of everyone having their own right would look like. Very weird. Mr. Monster saying, I loved your interview yesterday. Too bad Pikachu doesn't really know what human rights are or is in that sense. Oh, okay. This is it.
Adding to that, it was so stupid that he actually argued that his argument was basically, well, if you support human rights, then that means you support, Western liberalism in general, which means you also support capital punishment for women who have committed crimes. What the hell are you talking about?
Yeah, well, that one I refuted that straight away. I said we don't even ask for that. We don't even ask for torture, beating up women. We don't ask for that. So that's just bullshit. Very quickly, let's just wrap it up on that and want to share that. So I actually tweeted that there's some people who are saying that I don't. There's 3 Muslims scholars have contacted me. So someone said that they are Abu Layth, Javad Hashmi, and Khalil Andani. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to confirm or deny anything who it is. So he said, Dr. Javad Hashmi, who's a PhD. He's a PhD doctor. So he say, do you not find it interesting that Haris Sultan's Islam is the same as Daniel's? Isn't that true? That's the whole freaking point. We are Salafi, aren't we? We are literalists, aren't we? We actually see Islam what it says. But Dr. Javad Hashmi, Khalil Andani, Mufti Abu Layth, these guys look at it differently. They give you the rosier version of that. So if you subscribe to the rosier version, you should be shitting on Daniel Haqiqatjou because him and I were on the same side the way we're interpreting the Quran. So I think that's just another way. Anyway, I think I'm done. If you have anything to say, let's wrap it up.
Sarah Michael Ashraf said, Apostate Prophet, an ex-Muslim turned Christian girl was stabbed to death in Sweden for her apostasy. I haven't heard of that.
I haven't heard of that either. We will definitely talk about that.
Yeah,
obviously, whether you turn to Christian or not, whatever that is, you're a human, and that's the beauty of human rights. We look at every human equally.
Yeah. Here, a small point again. I will keep pushing Daniel on that whole moving to an Islamic country thing. He said he won't go because America makes Sharia countries unsafe. LOL. Well, I mean, I never said, Daniel, hey, you must move to an Islamic country. I'm saying, hey, if you're consistent with yourself, stop living in the most immoral nation that you think there is, which is America. Instead, move to some country that is much closer to your Islamic ideals than America. And there are so many options among them. It doesn't have to be the ideal Islamic state. It can be any Muslim country, any Islamic country. And there are so many of them which are not controlled and not bombed by America. I mean, it's so clear, just such a stupid excuse by him. Okay. All right. Thanks so much, everybody. Thank you for listening. Thanks, everybody. I think this was very wholesome, not as wholesome as child marriage is, according to Daniel Haqiqatjou.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but yeah, that's what he said, wholesome. This was very nice. Thank you so much, everybody. I hope we will go on with this. I will make a few more excerpts of this. My challenges still go out to Daniel Haqiqatjou and to all the Muslim apologists. And thanks, everybody, for being here. Thank you so much, Haris, for doing that debate and also for coming and talking here together. Go and subscribe to Haris Sultan's channel, everybody. It's been on the screen forever now. Go and subscribe to his channel. He's doing great work. And anything else, Harris?
No, that's it. Thank you very much for having me. And I think this is it's been really fun last couple of days, and we're gonna do more of that. I am willing to. I'm ready to do a lot more of these. You know, like I want to be defeated like this every day. So Haqiqatjou, please defeat me like this every day. You're gonna turn off. Not only you're gonna expose Islam to the Western world, non-Muslims, those hijabi white girls who say, "Hey, Islam is all beds and rainbows and butterflies." Not only just that, you're gonna expose it to, but also these modern progressive Muslims. When they wake up from this hoo-ha, we gotta go for our guy. When they wake up, when they see for it what it is, then they'll be like, damn it, maybe he's right. Maybe these ex-Muslims are right. They'll go away from Mufti Abulaid. Mufti Abulaid kind of guys, I hate them because they're more difficult for us. They listen. There was this girl. She started listening to me. She was Mufti Abulaid's regular, but then again, she got sucked back into Mufti Abulaid's argument. So I was like, oh, right, okay. But Haqiqatjou's people, once their mind flips, it's over.
Yeah.
All right.
Very well put. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Harris. And everybody have a fantastic rest of the day and stay away from Islam.